Oh, it's Chris Avalon Unfiltered, bitch.
Y'all, welcome and happy Tuesday. It's your boy Chris Avalon, and welcome to a brand new episode, excuse me, of Chris Avalon Unfiltered, a show we basically talk about all things going on in celebrity news, hot topics, pop culture, and we get a little political. Let's get political. So, with all of that being said, if this show is the type of show and type of mess that you want to get yourself into, please do me a solid, hit that like button, that subscribe button, the notification, all that good stuff, so that way you know when we go live with a brand new episode, Chris Avalon Unfiltered. Also, you already know about the timestamps. I'll put them at the end of the show. We have a lot of tea to get into today. One of the reasons why I was late, because I was literally on time, but I had to cut up some ribs. I was watching somebody go in and let have on Van Jones, or as I like to call him, Nessa Jones. But anyway, so in addition to me, I was cutting up my ribs and stuff, right? I was on time, but then I forgot. Oh my God, I need to get that Wendy Williams story. So that's literally why I spent the last 5 minutes putting together before we came and did the show. And also, I happen to check my messages. I want to give a shout out to Willem. She did just comment on one of my videos that I did in regards of the drag race blacklist and toxic behavior rumors. Remember when I covered that on the show? I actually made that into a little separate segment. And Miss Mom was literally an hour ago um responded. So I had to go and like it and give a little comment and all that other stuff. So shout out to Miss Willem. If y'all have not checked out Willem's Dark Room Duel, definitely check it out if you have Out TV and all that good stuff. But nevertheless, this ain't about them. But we are gonna get. I mean, it's not about drag race girls. Although we do have a drag race, um, couple of drag race topics that we're gonna get into later on. But anyway, before we get to that, let me give y'all what's the rundown of the show. So we got to talk about Dwayne Johnson is speaking out on the fact that Smashing Machine flopped at the box office, saying you can't control box office results. But I'm like, well, we'll get into it. Plus, the Michael movie is finally finished, but they said we're only going to get half the movie, and we may get the other half if the first half does well at the box office. We'll get into that mess. Speaking of mess, look like we may not be getting the other half and halves. We may not be getting the other half of Fast and the Furious 10 because budget ballooning and you can't agree on payments and all the other stuff. So we'll get into that story. Plus, Andy Muschietti is debunking rumors that he's no longer a part of Brave and the Bold. We'll get into that. Charlie Hunnam said that, everybody's praising Charlie Hunnam for his performance as Ed Gein, but he said that after reading all the stuff, and he was hesitant to sign on. So we'll get into that. Plus, Ryan Murphy, we talked about him being criticized over the inaccuracies in the Ed Gein series or anthology series. But people are dragging him, and I think we talked about this a bit yesterday, but they made a story out of it apparently. So I said, let's expand on it. Ryan Murphy's being criticized for their tasteless depiction of Anthony Perkins and a lot of the stuff that was going on where they were trying to juxtapose him being in the closet with a lot of the craziness of Ed Gein and his demonic secrets and things of that nature. So we'll get into that. Rosie O'Donnell still out here speaking on her beef with Elisabeth Hasselbeck. We'll get into that. Speaking of talk shows, Wendy Williams is speaking out against this guardianship still because she was seen recently at New York Fashion Week. Mhi'ya Iman LePaige is the latest Drag Race sister or alum to come out as transgender. We'll get into that story. Kennedy Davenport, we got some bad news regarding her and her childhood home. And I got some casting news regarding this RuPaul's Drag Race movie that we're supposed to be getting. It's supposed to be an action comedy. Adam Shankman is directing it. And we have a full cast list of who's going to be a part of it and who are the leads. And based off of this, I'm definitely going to the movies to see this freaking film. They better give me an invite to the screening so I could talk about as much Drag Race tea as I spill on this damn show. But anyway, so with all of that being said, as I said before, hit that like button, smash the notification, subscribe, all that good stuff. I see we already got comments. People already in the room. Let's see who's here. Cleveland is here. Carl, and we got Anumbria, and we have. Wait, I hope everybody's good as well. Okay, so let me hit my banner. Without further ado, Let's get to top of number one. So you already heard that. Well, Taylor Swift basically just massacred everybody at the damn box office. We don't need to go and do a whole rundown of it. I think I said all I need to say regarding that album and the little stunts and shows she's been pulling regards to the marketing and all the other stuff regarding that. I do not believe that Taylor Swift had anything to do with the Smashing Machine flopping at the box office. I just think that it was just a lot of things going against the movie. And number one, I was thinking long and hard about it, even after I was done with the topic yesterday when I was done with the show. And I'm like, who is this movie for? Like the guy that he was playing, I don't think many people even know. Now, and I will say this: I'm a UFC fan. I used to watch Ultimate Fighting Championship. I used to watch a lot of the UFC stuff, and then I fell out of love with UFC after a while. I think it was like when I was traveling as a gypsy and all this other stuff, and doing many gigs when I was like traveling and doing live events and stuff and doing a lot of those gigs. I just feel like I kind of fell off of the whole. Well, I fell out of with a lot of things because life was happening and I was working and I really didn't have time to invest in a lot of things that I was able to invest in when I was like in one specific place. So UFC, I kind of fell out of love with it and I moved on. But this character that Dwayne Johnson's playing, even though they kind of have similar looks or whatever the case is, I don't think many people even knew who this guy was. And it kind of made it seem like, okay, so if you're putting out this movie, who is this movie for? And then I told you there was really I didn't see any big promotions around the film, except whenever I would go to the movies and they would show the coming attractions for the Smashing Machine before the movie started. So that was the only time I was reminded of it. And then tonally, I was just like, it seems depressing. And then I heard that there's not really that many UFC type fight scenes. You know, like whenever you watch like Rocky or many other boxing movies like Southpaw or whatever, that you get all those big fight sequences that you get when they're in the boxing ring. I hear there's not a lot of that going on in this film. So marketing wise, who's the movie for? I mean, we already know that we said that what was it, 18 to 35-year-olds will probably be going to see this film in the theater, and that's who mostly were dominating. But anybody over that, I don't think the older crowd really cared. The UFC's never really been for like an older audience. It was something that was underground for a long time until it broke into the mainstream, maybe like 10, 15 years ago. So that there was a lot of things going against it. I just don't think that that should have been a movie that been made. But with all that being said, Dwayne Johnson, or as some people call him, DJ, has spoken out. So, according to Variety, this is their story. Shout out to them. Dwayne Johnson experienced the worst box office opening of his career with The Smashing Machine, the A24 drama that debuted to a rough, and they said 6 million, but yeah, the number was 5.9 domestically. But the actor is taking the bad news in stride. Johnson posted on Instagram that you can't control box office results and praised director Benny Safdie for changing his life with the film, which cast Johnson as MMA fighter Mark Kerr. And from what I was watching, shout out to Christian Harlow because he said when there was like a thing, I don't remember if he said he interviewed him or whatever the case was, but they said that they didn't even meet each other. Mark Kerr did not meet Dwayne Johnson during the duration of them filming it. Dwayne Johnson didn't meet Mark Kerr. So therefore, like after the movie was done, when the premieres and all this other stuff started happening, is when they met and they became inseparable. But I'm like, that's kind of disrespectful in my opinion. Like if the person is alive and I'm gonna be portraying them, I kind of want to meet them and kind of get their isms down or I'll be paying attention, but at the same time I'm gonna be studying you too. How does he sound when he talks? How does he move? Like does he have certain little ticks that like those are things that as an actor you study when you're dealing with or you're performing or portraying real life people. Since Dwayne Johnson's more of a star and an action star than an actor, I don't think he knows that. But nevertheless, that's what you do when you're trying to get in this place of I'm a thespian and I want to be taken seriously. But apparently, it seemed like a lot of people didn't want to see him in that role. And maybe what it is, I mean, I don't know. I'll ask y'all. Do you feel like you don't want to see Dwayne Johnson playing like being like a serious actor? Like you want to see him more in doing like the San Andreas or playing Luke Hobbs or one of those things. Like we want to see him do the action thing. But if you do the action thing, I do feel like there's ways that you can challenge yourself in those roles. It don't have to be just some mindless, stupid thing that you're in, like a Red One or Red Notice or one of those things. But if you do something serious like San Andreas, or what was the movie that he did with in the skyscraper? Was that the name of it? I don't remember. With Nev Campbell was his wife. I like that movie. It was okay, but for me personally, I was entertained by it. I actually went to the movies to see that. So there's certain and the rundown I enjoy when he was in that. Also, damn, what was the other movie? Walking Tall. I liked when he was in that film. That was kind of like when he was on the. It was like a hybrid. Like it was on the cheesy side, but he was really giving like some real serious acting. And what was the one that he was in? I forget where his son, I think, was he in jail or was he murdered? Something or another. And I was like, he was good in that film too. So Dwayne Johnson's done some really good movies. I don't think you got to be doing like this plot armor crap because that be getting on my nerves too. Like with him and Vin Diesel, and we gonna get into Vin Diesel later on in the show. But I don't like when y'all be trying to act like that y'all are superhuman. It's like, no, you can get punched in the face too, sir. So I don't know if people really care enough to want to see him like that. But he said it was my honor to transform in the role for my director, Benny Safdie. Thank you, brother, for believing in me. Truth is, this film has changed my life with deep gratitude, respect, and radical empathy, DJ. Now, as reported by Variety, the Smashing Machine cratered in third place at the box office, 5.9 million from 3,345 venues. And that's what people were saying, oh, it's not in a lot of theaters. Dude, 3,000 is not a lot? Because I could have sworn it was, especially for an independent film. And it being Dwayne Johnson, people feel like his name carries a lot of weight regarding that. Now, they said the ticket sales are below projections of 8 million to 15 million and marked a career low for Johnson, below his 2010 thriller Faster. I think that was the name of it, Faster. It's funny how they put it in the thing, and I was thinking about it. But I was like, yeah, Faster. I like that movie. It didn't do that well, but I was like, 6,000. You know what? I be having a thing where I like the movies nobody else really likes. And it's also about an A24. Oh, sorry, not about a blow. Which spent, and I said this was crazy. How the hell y'all spending $50 million on an independent film? But sidebar, isn't this the same studio that bitched and moaned that they didn't want to spend over almost $100 million on that Crystal Lake series, which was the rumor as to why they got rid of the previous um damn, I forgot the guy who's was it Brian Fuller? That was initially a part of doing like being the showrunner, and then they decided, oh, we scrapping all of what we was doing before, and we're gonna bring somebody else in. So y'all ain't want to put out $100 million to do a Friday the 13th prequel series, but you spent $50 million on a movie nobody even knew who the hell this guy is. Okay, but y'all expected that it was because it was Dwayne Johnson that that was gonna get butts and seats. But it kind of makes people wonder: is Dwayne Johnson's reign as you know being the box office savior, is he now box office kryptonite? That kind of makes me wonder that because remember, he was somebody that was basically the guy that was saving a lot of previous franchises, Fast and the Furious being one of them. That got me even more excited when Vin Diesel announced that Dwayne Johnson was coming in and being part of the franchise. That definitely breathed new life into the franchise. So I don't know, maybe things have changed, but I already told y'all yesterday, they do have a Lilo and no, not Lilo and Stitch, but they do have a Lilo and Stitch sequel. I was thinking that wasn't what he was in. It was Moana. They do have a live action Moana movie coming out that he is going to be in playing the same character that he played in the animated version of Moana. I do believe that Moana is going to do fairly well. It will basically catapult him back into that hit status. And that's only because it's Disney, Pixar, it's it's a pre-existing IP. It's familiar. People know who Moana is. They're gonna want to see the live action version of this animated thing that they grew up with, similar to Lilo and Stitch, which I actually like. I like the live action version. I thought it was cute. Little kid was adorable. Stitch had me in stitches. So I definitely enjoyed the live action movie. I was laughing all throughout it. I felt like a little kid watching it again. So I do think that Moana will do fairly well, and that's only because, like I said, pre-existing IP. It's got history with people, and for that nostalgia sake of it all, people are gonna go and spend the money to see it. Now, will it make $1 billion? Who knows? And everything I don't always why is this obsession? I'm not even going there because there's a specific YouTuber that's obsessed with things being $1 billion grossing at the box office, which he irritates me with that shit. But anyway, so like I said, this two-time UFC heavyweight champion, nobody really knows who he is. I also heard that Emily Blunt's character is underwritten. I definitely want to see this movie, but they said he fought from 1997 to 2009, and he won 4 ADCC World Championships. And it's in theaters if you guys want to see it. But yeah, this was from Dwayne's Instagram. I just wanted to show you all that. But yeah, so I just feel like, you know what? I don't think I have anything else to say on this, but I do want to ask you all, what do you guys think of this story? Why do you think that the Smashing Machine didn't do well at the box office? I remember, I even told you before, I totally forgot that the Smashing Machine even was out. I totally forgot about it. Until people started mentioning, I'm like, wait, that movie came out this weekend? Because I remember seeing the trailer, but I just think like I don't I don't want to sit in the theater and watch a depressing movie. I think I already got my fill of watching depressing movies when I went to go see The Long War and I sat and cried through that whole damn movie. I don't want to have that feeling again of just like being all sad and stuff. That's not where my energy is right now. So when it comes out next month on digital rental or whatever the hell you want to call it, because that, trust and believe, it'll be out next month for you to sit and home watching the confines of your own damn house. Then I'll rent it then and I'll check it out. So I definitely want to hear from y'all. What do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments down below. Now hold on as I take a sip of this damn Red Bull. I was trying not to drink in the middle of the segment. But anyway, let me see. Let's scroll on up. Felix is in the building. Child, I saw that. I saw the some people saying the body language was a little. I was like, child, they fucked after that. Tell you one thing about Ben got a big dick, and you already know. I know y'all probably asking how I know. Did you not see Gone Girl? That was not a prosthetic. It was like Ben Affleck got a big old penis. He seemed like he's bland as hell though, in regards to conversation, but he's very smart. Speaks better Spanish than Jennifer Lopez. And Jennifer, them two have been around each other because he is a producer on this Kiss of the Spider-Woman movie. And she has said many a times, if it was not for Artist Equity, which is his production company with Matt Damon, the movie would have never got made. So they were on the red carpet. I know they was expecting it to be a little awkward, but they was like, we're going to give y'all a show. And also Hannaford was on, she's been doing the rounds. I know she kind of got at one of the reporters for an interview. I think she did. What was it? CBS, NBC, one of them damn channels on the morning show where they tried it with Ben Affleck, and she had, it's not. So he tried it. It's like, mind your business, sir. You don't know what's going on in a situation. Don't be asserting yourself in the mess. And it's like maybe they're good in business, but not good in relationships. And to me, Ben Affleck always gives me that he is a gaslighter who basically needs to be in a love bomber who gets off on the thrill and the chase. But when it comes down to actually committing and being in a long-term relationship with someone, you can't commit to him. He's just a lot. It's a lot. And to me, he gives like it's a lot to deal with him. So he better off being single. Now, when it comes to what was it? I do want to see Kiss of the Spy Woman though. Some people's like, oh, they don't care about the movie. It's gonna flop, whatever, whatever. It looks interesting. I want to see it. Now, but I don't think they're gonna get back together. If they need to get together and do a little rendezvous and hunch a little bit, and he throw up against the wall and get a little bit of that old, Boricua, Conchita, Cuchita, then go in and let have. But go your separate ways afterwards. Just do a drive-by and keep it moving. Some people just worth a drive-by and not just a full-on relationship. So I can see that. Oh, yeah. And then what I was mentioning to get to, every time I come on this damn show, my nose start itching. I think it's because I got this fan like right up under me. But anyway, and it'd be looking like, oh, I got a little drug addict. My name is not Nicki Minaj, but allegedly. But now Whoopi Goldberg jumping up and trying to hush the audience because they was giving her like a 72 or 75-second standing ovation. I'm like, ladies, Y'all already know. Whoopi already got me tight with the foolishness. Strike one was the mess. Well, first of all, she tried to act like she one of us, like she's struggling out here for money. That was one of the strikes. Another strike was when they did that bullshit propaganda interview with Zoran Mamdani, while they was literally licking Andrew Cuomo's ass crack yesterday with that softball interview. And then the mess with the whole blackface that we talked about. She talked about some damn cocoa butter. I'm like, bitch, aren't you black? Like, how do you not know cocoa butter ain't gonna darken your skin? Basically, it keeps you from being ashy. Like, come on, sis. How do you not know about cocoa butter? You black. Last time I checked. But then again, you know how these sellouts, like the Whoopies, Cory Bookers, Apex Shakur Jeffries, most recently Van Jones, but I've been talking about Van Jones for years on how he a damn sellout, where he basically just jumps on whatever thing, whichever way the wind blows, he jumps on that. He don't really stand for nothing, as a lot of them don't. But you know, these establishment Democrats don't want to give up that old power. Yeah, I saw that too. They said, why would anyone want to see The Rock when Indy is out here serving? Shut up with the whole Indy, because you know what you're talking about. You're talking about Good Boy, which was another movie that I wanted to see, but I did not know it was out this weekend. And then Tron Ares is not getting the best reviews. They saying it's okay. That basically is all style and no substance. I'm gonna go see it anyway. I know Robert came in the building yesterday. I don't know if he ain't here yet because I ain't scrolled down all the comments. And he basically said that they boycotting that movie and where he's at. I said they should have done a slower rollout with the movie, expanding it on week 3 and 4. Wait, we talking about the Dwayne Johnson movie? Magical Murray's in the building. Like I said, that Moana movie will be $1 billion hit. Because according to some people, they don't think it will be. But I'm like, okay, it's fine. I'm like, just like Lilo and Stitch grossed $1 billion, I do think Moana's going to gross $1 billion. These people aren't out here like some people are just so caught up in the industry Hollywood bubble, they can't see outside of it. I'm like, the people that go to see Smash Machine are not the same people that's going to go see Moana. It's going to make money. Oh wow, his first movie with no. You said his second movie. Yeah, I remember Jungle Cruise. They did. I think that's why he said. I think that's why he said he picked her because they worked on the Jungle Cruise together and they were really good friends. I mean, he do speak better Spanish than Jennifer. Not friends with benefits. Ah, okay, yeah, she said that dumb shit yesterday. Talking about some damn, get some cocoa butter. I'm like, cocoa butter, girl. Why didn't you ask your ex Ted Danson what he used when he did blackface during the fries roast? Y'all could do the same thing. Go in there at the Super Bowl halftime. Wear the same shit that Ted Danson used when he got up there doing all that blackface in front of you at the fries roast. Somebody should have brought that up. Oh, she would have got tight. I tell you, if I was to be a co-host on The View and I said half the shit I'd be saying on this show, I would not last the hour. They would fire me because my mouth is just too crazy. And I'm not willing to kiss ass and play the game for money. I just can't do it. I blame my parents for raising me this way with integrity and, all that stuff. Damn, like I had to give me morals. Why can't I sell out like the rest of these hoes? He was at the problem with Hollywood. They are special effect focused, but it's strong writing, direction, and talent. Because I was sitting there like, why don't they? Well, from what they were saying, I'm a guessing you talking about Tron or whatever. But I guess what they were saying on something, I was like, yeah, why didn't they just focus on a lot of what what's his name, Joseph Kosinski? Because he directed the second one. Why didn't they just bring a lot of what happened in Tron Legacy over into this Ares movie with the ISOs and trying to come into the real world and all those ideas? They didn't even come with that. They talking about the visual effects in there is good. And then I also noticed this too, and I'm glad somebody brought this up when I was watching one. I think it was Jeremy Johns. I was like, I said the same shit. Did y'all notice that there's certain pieces of the Nine Inch Nails score that sound similar to what Daft Punk did in the original in Tron Legacy? I've noticed that. I'm like, These music pieces sound awfully familiar. So while I like Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, I love me some Trent. I was like, sounds a little. Some of these pieces in here sound like you took from that other movie and kind of put your little industrial spin on it, unless that's like the signature sound. I don't know if Tron has a signature sound musically though. Like Indiana Jones has a theme song, Superman has a theme song. I'm talking about the Christopher Reeve ones. But I think they all kind of use the same similar the music. Like there's a lot of movies that have like their signature piece. But anyway, let's move on, y'all. Let's talk about Michael Jackson. So, we've been waiting, I guess, with bated breath for this new Michael Jackson movie. What the hell's been going on with it? Remember at one point it was done, but then they had to chop the entire third act because apparently it was supposed to take place with one of Michael Jackson's former child diddler accusers. Um, it was supposed to be a trial or whatever the case was. Come to find out that there was a deal that was in place that they were not supposed to speak ill of anything that had to do with that trial. It was not supposed to be forecast or brought up or mentioned, whatever you want to call it, in the movie. They shot the whole damn thing. So the one thing I do feel bad about is the actor who played the lawyer, the kid, the parents, whoever they had cast in that part. That's sad on them because nobody's ever even going to see the piece of what they did because it's going to end up on the cutting room floor and left there forever. And I'm sure they got paid being the movie, but your whole situation that you work hard on, nobody's going to see it because these idiots over there at the ranch or who's running Michael Jackson's estate didn't read the fine print. So they wrote this whole piece of a script and it's not coming out. So shout out to World of Real for this tea because they said director Antoine Fuqua and screenwriter John Logan were forced to completely rethink the film after a rights dispute involving one of Jackson's former accusers rendered a large chunk of already shot material legally unusable. This has led to potentially only half the film being released next year, which I could have sworn there was rumors that they were doing reshoots. So they basically saying that they didn't shoot anything. They've just been sitting on this film trying to figure out what they're going to do in regards to the movie. And so y'all haven't shot anything all this time? So they said Puck's Matt Baloney reported that reshoots quietly wrapped last month, and the finished cut now ends with Jackson's meteoric rise to superstardom in the 80s, meaning everything that came after, including his implosion and the dark shadow of Neverland, is out. That's despite 2 full weeks of footage filmed at Neverland Ranch. All of it scrapped. Which, to me, I'm not seeing this shit. Why would I go and see a movie about Michael Jackson that's only gonna give me the 80s? So what does it end with? Him doing the Pepsi Cola commercial and his hair catching on the Jerry curls catching on fire? Is that where it ends? And then we gotta find out what happens next time. Well, I mean, we already know what happened. We can Google Schmoogle to find out the D. But like what? So you gonna give us half a damn movie, and then if it's successful, then you're gonna sit up here and say, well, we'll give y'all the other half if y'all go see this movie. Y'all gonna sit and spin on these with this damn movie. This is why I keep telling y'all I can't stand biopics. Every time I see a biopic, I'm disappointed. Y'all, I don't need to go in on why I hated Bohemian Rhapsody. And funny enough, the person who wrote that movie wrote this one. So you already know I'm gonna hate this damn movie. But I'm gonna try not to jump the boom boom gun just yet. I'm gonna wait until this trailer comes out, which they saying is next month, probably around when Wicked for Good comes out. They're gonna air the trailer, and then I'll come to a determination because I don't think we've even seen a lick of a trailer of this movie. I heard that at CinemaCon, I believe they showed footage, and some people saying they were impressed with what they saw. So I guess I'll just wait until we get an official trailer. And if it's that damn CinemaCon trailer, I'm gonna be tight because I'm like, you know how long ago CinemaCon was? That was earlier this year. Why are you giving us an old ass trailer? You might as well add some new stuff to it. So, the producer or Graham King, I should say, says that he already has plans for a follow-up film that will tackle Jackson's King of Pop years with new material featuring Jafar Jackson, who is Michael's nephew, that's playing Michael, Coleman Domingo, and Miles Teller. The catch, the sequel only happens if Michael becomes a hit with audiences when it opens next April. If it lands big or even shows strong early tracking, they'll move forward. If not, all the extra footage goes straight to the vault, a waste of money, and the Jackson estate, which has been covering the cause of this production fiasco, eats the loss. Meanwhile, they wouldn't give Madonna $100 million allegedly to make her biopic. But y'all sitting here wasting money on fucking Michael. Now, I love Michael Jackson. He's up there in the Mount Rushmore of pop icons. Michael, Whitney Houston, Madonna, and Prince. They're on the Mount Rushmore of pop icons. So y'all gonna give Michael all his money. Because I heard it's ballooned over to at least over $200 million to make this movie. But y'all bitched and moaned when Madonna wanted $100 million for her biopic, and she's still alive. Now, early in the year, when things looked a little rosier for Michael, Fuqua reportedly had a cut running nearly 4 hours long, which Lionsgate had planned to split into two parts. The goal was to turn it into an event film, something on the scale of Wicked. Now, the latter half, roughly 2 hours of footage, might never see the light of day. Now, let's not also forget, we recently talked about Paris Jackson, who is Michael's 27-year-old daughter, already was not feeling this movie. And people was dragging her. I'm like, well, how y'all dragging the daughter? I would think that somebody, if you talk about my father and the things that I read in the script, and you sitting up here trying to say that I'm gung ho about the film, Coleman Domingo said that, and I like Coleman, but Coleman, let's not be out here being messy. Or maybe you was giving misinformation from the people, and now, you said what you said, but Paris was like, don't sit up and associate me with this mess, because y'all didn't even ask my input. And some people was like, well, how would you know, Michael? You was a kid when he died, or whatever, whatever. I would think that there's been conversations around the Jackson household where there have been stories that were shared, or the time that she spent with her father, that she had learned some things. She had seen some things. She knows her father inside and out, even though he died when she was young. So I would think she would know. She said, I had 0% involvement. This is what she told Instagram, which is what she said on Instagram. Sorry. After I said Coleman Domingo, who plays Joe Jackson, claimed otherwise. She said, don't be telling people I was helpful on the set of a movie I had 0% involvement in. LOL, that is so weird. She also said that she read an early draft and called out parts that didn't sit right with her, only to be ignored. She said, not my monkey, not my circus. A big section of the film panders to a very specific section of my dad's fandom that still lives in the fantasy. Lionsgate, which is handling domestic distribution, and Universal managing the international rollout, is still betting hard on this one. They said after many delays, the first trailer for Michael will drop in November, and as I said, attached to Wicked for Good. How that trailer plays with audiences will tell us a lot about whether this project has an audience. So I don't like the whole idea of like the whole half thing. I mean, I get it if you could leave it on a cliffhanger in a way that you can get maybe do two parts of it, Wicked for Good, or whatever the case was. This is why I said from the beginning, Madonna, I know you want to go and do the whole thing on the big screen, whatever. Get this deal with what's his name? Sean. I think what was it? Sean Levy. Do the thing with Netflix. Do the thing on a streaming service, because your life is worth a whole lot more than just being. I mean, I get it. You might want an Oscar, blah blah blah, whatever, whatever. Do the whole Oscar thing with the music. If you want to provide it for a soundtrack or something or another, see if you can be eligible that way. I don't know what the rules are, but as far as this whole thing, I'm like, it's too messy with the whole theatrical situation, and it's like them having to split it in all these different parts because there's so much of your life that's going to be on the screen or whatever the case is. So maybe it's best that you do your thing on those, like as a anthology miniseries rather than a big budgeted one, but instead of like a theatrical version. I mean, I would go to the movies and see it, but I don't know. This movie with Michael has been such a mess. I don't even know anymore. I don't even know if I even care. But like I said, at this point, I'm gonna just wait until next month when the trailer drops, and then I'll be like, okay, it looks relatively interesting. I might actually go to the movies and see it. But right now, I'm side on all of y'all. Like, it just feels like a hot ass mess at this point. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story regarding the rumors that we We may not get another, like, they're making a Michael Jackson biopic. Don't know how long it's going to be. They said they had a 4-hour cut, but they're only going to release half a movie, and it all depends if you guys go to the theater to see it. If it tracks well, if it does well at the box office, then they'll usher out the second half. But if not, then I guess it's going to be like Fast and the Furious 10, where it's been left on a cliffhanger, and the movie may not see the light of day. So money just wasted. And this is what Hollywood's been doing a lot lately, wasting money, throwing money away like they could just do that. And then their idea behind it is, let's raise all the prices, let's screw the consumer. It's our fault that y'all budgets be out of damn control, when y'all need to figure out how to make things on the cheap and stop spending $400-500 million on a damn movie and thinking that this is pre-pandemic, where people just run into the theaters to just see any old thing because y'all decided this is a vanity project y'all want to put together, and thinking that we give a damn. Although I will say this, with Michael Jackson, he is a global superstar, so people would give a damn about this movie. But I'm just saying, in general, the way y'all just throwing money around, like y'all making it rain on some goddamn scrippers in Atlanta. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. Now, hold on, let me finish drinking this before, One thing I hear about Red Bull, it gets warm real quick. But anyway, let's see what the peoples are saying. Something wicked comes this way. It's like that movie. So remember Escape from Witch Mountain? Escape from Witch Mountain, Return to Witch Mountain. Kim Richards was in that. First of all, the first movie I think I saw Kim Richards in was Assault on Precinct 13. They did her dirty in that damn movie. I think Betty Davis, wasn't she in that movie too? Well, what was it? Escape from Witch Mountain? One of them damn movies. Um, but yeah, Kim Richards, child, the way they did her, they shot her ass. She said, "Hey, you gave me the wrong ice cream." That guy came, got the gun, and shot her ass. I was like, "Damn." John Carpenter was ruthless back in the day. You couldn't get away with something like that today. I saw the Tron figures and Light Cycle in the really. Like I said, they got a lot of really cool stuff in Tron, but I just wish that they would have stronger stories, especially when you're talking about like AI and computers and the digital world and the real world kind of interlinking. Them accusers still grifting. They might as well get an sorry ass maid who was in that one documentary. Look, child, this one you might as well just put James Safechuck in it, and who the other one? Wade Robson. Hmm. Oh, so it was Pepsi, and it was one of them damn sodas. One of them goes flat the fastest. That'd be Coca Cola. That's why I don't drink theirs. A Michael, the end of Pop King movie. They need focus. Just scrap the whole thing and make it a. Mm-mm. First of all, that's way too much money that they done spent on this movie already. I have a gut feeling this film won't be received well. I started feeling that way after the reshoots, but I'm still going to check it out. Yeah, Janet probably got a small part, but yeah, I don't think it'll be received well either. But they got to do what they got to do, right? And keep going forward with whatever. All right, y'all. So now, speaking of Vin Diesel, because I've been teasing, throwing little jabs here and there before we got to the topic. Let's get to the topic. So while we were just talking about Michael Jackson and the ballooning budget and half a movie getting released, and it all depends if the movie does well. The one thing about Vin Diesel and these Fast and the Furious movies, since Fast 9, they've been bleeding money, and the returning results on the box office, while the budget has gotten out of control, has been diminishing to the point where it's like they're looking at it as like this next movie. Because remember, the Fast 10, if you've seen it, which I'm sorry, I only saw that movie once. It was so bad. That one and Fast 9, the one where they were driving through the I don't know what the hell it was called. What was it? They were driving through something. They were trying to dodge mines, and then they hooked the car on this thing and they swung. I'm like, what the You know, what the fuck am I watching? That whole thing was just ridiculous. But anyway, so Vin Diesel, you know, the movie has made little progress, I should say. The last movie came out, Fast X, came out in 2023. I can't even admit, I'll just admit it. I actually went to the movies. I did go to the movies to see it, even though I was just like, this movie is just 2+ hour, bunch of explosions. It was one big turd of a film. And remember that when the Fast and the Furious movies came out, the first one was a Point Break ripoff. It literally was. It was literally Point Break with cars instead of surfboards. Then, don't even start with me with Too Fast, Too Furious. That movie was terrible with John Singleton. May he rest in peace. He directed it. We had Stephen Aoki's sister, Devin, up in it. Then we had Clarice was in that movie. Ludacris was in it. Then we had Tokyo Drift, where Han supposedly died. Then we had part 4 where it was kind of like it went in reverse and was like prequels up to that point before. So that's how they was able to bring Han back. They killed off Michelle Rodriguez. She didn't show up into the post-credit scene. Her picture did. In part 5, that's when we got Dwayne Johnson. And then that's when the franchise started to pick up. Fast 5. And that's when, like I said before, when I was talking about Dwayne Johnson earlier, Dwayne Johnson became a part of it. That's when the franchise became successful. And they kept going up. Fast 5 was dope. Fast 6 was a good one. Then we have Fast 7, which is where I believe we lost Paul Walker because he died in a car crash. How fitting, because literally what those movies was about, like he died in real life in a damn race car situation. Then we ended up getting, and then that's when it should have just ended, because it was great the way that they wrapped that movie up. And I think that was the first film to gross $1 billion. And I always said, I think it was because a lot of people who were fans of the film went to go see it, and they liked the previous ones, on top of people were curious to see how they was going to wrap up his death or wrap up his story, because he had died in real life. So I do think that it was a lot of people who really weren't Fast and Furious fans that came out of curiosity to see how they were going to wrap up his story. Then we got the 8th one, Fate of the Furious. I forget the director's name. The one that directed Set It Off. F. Gary Gray, I believe, directed that one. That was all right. Don't even get me started on Fast 9. That was trash. And then we got Fast 10, which was even worse. So, Vin Diesel has been bragging and saying a bunch of things. Well, he likes to gaslight in order to get what he wants. But it seemed like Universal's not budging. So he had bragged that Universal has begged him to deliver the next Fast and the Furious by April 2027. I don't think Universal was begging, but they let Vin Diesel just talk out of talk out of his ass. He said, "I said under 3 conditions," and then he said he wanted to bring the series back to Los Angeles, rediscover the street racing culture that birthed it, and most brazenly, reunite Dom Toretto with Paul Walker's character. He said that's what you're going to get, which I don't agree with that. I think if Paul Walker y'all found a way to slither him out of this franchise and pay homage, whatever the case is, leave him gone. If you want to bring Mhi'ya back and all that other stuff, you could do that. Leave Paul Walker dead. The man is dead. I don't like you doing the whole AI thing with the face and the digital stuff and bringing his brothers in to be stand-ins. Y'all was able to make that work with the last Fast and the Furious that Paul Walker did. Leave him alone. Don't bring him back. Then you talking about bringing it back to the street racing. I think it's because y'all got so out of control, especially that last one. You had them off on different missions around the world like this is freaking Mission Impossible. Y'all are not spies. And I always said that the thing that to me that would have made Fast and the Furious work was the time when what's his name came in, when they went and they robbed the things in Brazil, whatever the case is. When they brought when Dwayne Johnson came back and was like, well, Luke Hobbs, when he came back and said, Letty's alive, blah, 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 I really feel like they should have just started that as, in order to work off y'all prison, instead of going to prison, y'all need to try to use them to bring down other criminals or whatever the case is. That's how you work off your situation. Then you get you get to use the cars, you get to use all that other stuff, and you can incorporate the street racing and stuff within that. But you were under the government, a secret elite government situation, and had them using all of these cars and things at their disposal because y'all are able to evade the people. You can bring all these other criminals down. So, and that's the way y'all work off y'all prison sentence because you sitting in prison is not. It's just a waste. So y'all get to work off y'all little situation. Now, people die along the way. That could happen. Why do I got to come up with the fucking ideas for a movie that just been in limbo creatively? So they could have did that, but they didn't go there. They decided to come up with all this other cockamamie crap that defies all kinds of logic. And that's why people kind of side on this franchise, like, okay, y'all a little long in the tooth. And no shade, but you know what? Kudos to this franchise. No other franchise has been able to just make it to 11. Look at Mission Impossible. They haven't even made it that far up the food chain. And they started burning money too. So I think at this point, they ready to reboot that franchise, which I think they should. They need to go TV route, do a series, make it a smaller budgeted, grounded series and then come back to that. But I think at this point, they could also spin off the Fast and the Furious with other people and a tinier budget. But yeah, so him saying all of that, and then somebody bringing the series back to LA, I think they want to ground it is because that budget ballooned is too much. It was like it was the budget with the marketing, everything over $400 million. It didn't even make their money back. It grossed under $800 million at the box office, and if your budget is at 400 some odd million, you have to at least hit the $1 billion mark. And it hasn't done that since the Fast and the Furious where Paul Walker passed. That was what, Fast 7 and Fast 8. I think those are the only two that did $1 billion. The rest after that, it was okay, this franchise getting stupid. So they said that yeah, all that stuff Vin Diesel was saying was a lie. A Wall Street Journal bombshell has now dismantled Diesel's story. According to insiders, the next sequel doesn't even have a completed script. No release date has been set. Most of the cast haven't even signed deals. And Universal isn't even certain it wants another one, at least not unless they can they could slash about 140 million from the budget compared to Fast X. They said, if you told me 10 years ago that $1 billion Fast and Furious machine needed to slash its budget this drastically, I'd have laughed. But here we are. 11 films, $7.3 billion in global grosses, and suddenly the brain is on life support. In 2025, mega franchises are falling like dominoes. And that's a fact. It's like even Marvel, when you look at Marvel, Marvel's not even recouping a lot of the money that they once did. Thunderbolts didn't do that well at the box office. Fantastic Four didn't even hit $1 billion. What is the other one? The Captain America with Anthony Mackie, that didn't really do as well as they had hoped. So it was like, yeah, they're really betting on Spider-Man and they're betting on Avengers Doomsday, which rumor is they're going to split that into two movies. So, um, yeah, a lot of these franchises are not doing as well as they once hoped. So, if Vin Diesel in his mind thinks that, yeah, y'all gross $7.3 billion, the franchise total, um, if you're thinking I'm gonna just give you a budget well past $300 million, which I told you the last movie the budget was ballooning past 300, and it's not only because of the shooting worldwide, but you also have to think about how much money the actors, whenever they sign on for each movie, how much you're paying them. That probably is why every time you see Michelle Rodriguez, the only time she pop up is in a Fast and the Furious movie, although she was good in the Dungeons and Dragons movie, which I wish a lot more people would have saw that. That was a really good one. But when but when it comes down to, you don't really see her in anything except the fast Tyrese too. But Tyrese out here complaining he ain't got no damn money. Well, if you wasn't out here mauling people's animals with your fucked up ass dogs and paying your damn child support when you supposed to, you wouldn't be having financial struggles. But he's a mess any damn way. A lost cause. So yeah, they what else is then it said Fast X was the lowest grossing entry in over a decade. So yeah, the budget ballooned past 300 as I told y'all. The full box office was 705 million. So you already know if the budget was almost $400 million, you can also imagine how much they spent on the marketing. They had to spend at least 200 million. So if we're talking about the budget's almost at 400, Plus, you're spending $200 million on the marketing. That's $600 million. 705 is what you came in at. You need to hit $1 billion in order to, recoup that or to be considered a hit. So they said Universal wants the same spectacle, but with a tighter budget. According to the report, the last draft of the At Fast X Part 2 was too pricey and still needed about $50 million in cuts to even make that happen. Meanwhile, chill. Vin Diesel wants $25 million for each installment. They said the last production collapsed under his watch, as with longtime director Justin Lin. Oh, I remember that. Justin Lin only filmed about a week of the damn movie before he was like, okay, fuck this motherfucker. I'm out. He was done. Even to the point, remember when Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson was about to come to blows at one point. Because I realized is that Diesel is difficult to work with. So they had Louis Leterrier who stepped in, but Louis Leterrier, I do like a lot of his stuff. He's done like oh my god, what was the Transporter? I think he did a couple of those movies. But it said, and then they said that budget went spiraling out of control. The timeline is a mess. Diesel once swore the next chapter will hit in 2025. Then he said it was coming out in 2026. Then he said it was coming out in 2027. Now they saying there's not a completed script. They need to make cuts into the budget. And what it is, you know what? You can keep it simple. You could bring it back to the street race and roots, but it needs to be interesting as when you bring these characters in, why we should care about them. Also, y'all need to leave Gal Gadot to stay dead. Why is this bitch back? She died at the end of which was the one that she died in? I think it was Fast Five, Fast Six, one of them. I think it might have been. No, shit, I can't even remember which one. When they had the longest, airplane situation. When it was on that little, when they were driving that plane was like going for like an hour, and that was the one that what's her name? Gina Carano, the one that just got canceled, but she got her little money from Disney when she was in that movie. And then Michelle Rodriguez was like, "Wrong team, bitch." That was a funny line though before she killed her. But Gal Gadot died. Then they brought her back on a submarine at the last one and didn't even explain how the hell she's alive. Like, y'all need to leave some of these characters dead. Stop bringing people back from the dead. Stop with the plot armor. You kill people off, then you bring them back. It's annoying. You have way too many characters in it. It's like you had Jason Statham. It's like they were trying to do their own version of Expendables. I love Charlize Theron. Cut her because that's going to be extra money added to the gumbo. Jason Statham, love him. Cut him. Um, There's been so many people. Even I know at one point y'all did tease Hobbs at the end of the last movie. Love Dwayne Johnson. He comes expensive too. Cut him. Y'all need to just keep it simple. Keep it within the family. Have them do one last situation. Close it up. Wrap it up. Move it on, and then pass the torch. I even think y'all could pull a Scream 7 and age Dom Toretto's son. Make him be the new guy that takes it over. Make him a teenager or whatever the case is. Or like, he's like 17, 18 years old and he kind of takes over the family situation or whatever. And do that. That's what y'all need to do. Because at this point, y'all doing too much. And if you want this movie made, you're going to have to come with some compromises because then, sorry, you don't have the same connection, cachet, whatever. It's the same thing with Dwayne Johnson. I don't feel like y'all have as much of that power as y'all think y'all do in the industry. And with Vin Diesel, he burned too many damn bridges. Remember at one point he even abandoned the Fast and the Furious series because he thought he was too damn good for it and then started going over doing these other movies. The Last Witch Hunter was trash. Now they making a sequel to it because it's doing well on Netflix. And nobody asked for that. We still waiting to see what's going on with the Riddick sequel that you was talking about you was doing. What's going on with that? Then you over here teasing that you did something within the Fast and the Furious universe with Michelle Rodriguez. You posted that on Instagram. We ain't seen none, heard none about that except for what you posted. So Vinny be talking out of all sides of his mouth, and the industry be like, what is he talking about? Is he having like a Donald Trump moment? Like you just be making shit up, pulling things out your ass, and then we got to sit up here and say, okay, this man out here saying a bunch of crap that ain't true. So I say all this to say, I will be seeing the movie when it comes when it comes out, only because I need to know how this whole situation rides up. If I've been as invested in this Fast and the Furious franchise as long as I've been invested in it, I got to see how it ends. But Y'all got to come up with a good story, a good budget, come up with some really cool, realistic, leaning action sequences, and don't be trying to, because it's like, yeah, you asked for $25 million a movie, and then how much you trying to pay all these other people that's coming up in here? If you're gonna bring Ludacris back, if you're gonna bring back Michelle Rodriguez, if you're gonna bring back Tyrese, if you're gonna bring back all these other people that you bring, if you're gonna bring back Sun Kang, if you're gonna bring back all these different characters in these movies, how much you trying to pay them? Because that's expensive. And if the movie is not given, if I'm not recouping the money that I'm putting in and investing in this franchise, somebody got to give. And if you're not willing to compromise, then this movie not gonna get made, and people we just gonna have to be left on a cliffhanger, like allegedly that Michael Jackson movie is about to be left on if y'all don't go see that when it come out. So I definitely want to hear from y'all. Let me know what you think about this messy story in the comments down below. Oh yeah, I read that one. You said, did I watch the video? Ashley says so on. No, there was something about something regarding Michael Jackson with Ashley. Well, I don't wait. No, I didn't even hear anything about that. And they said they always feel the need to top the last. Yeah, and the reality is, um, Tom Cruise was not able to. I just think that Tom Cruise's ego got the best of him with those Mission Impossible movies. Where, oh, I gotta top myself with the stunt. We gotta do these crazy stunts, and the stunts is cool. I'll be here for the stunt. Although that last one, that with the not the last one, Dead Reckoning Part One, I was like, okay, you jumped off a cliff with a motorcycle into a parachute. Whoop de fucking do. Although I did like the last stunt he did in the final reckoning, where he was on a parachute that caught on fire. That was a crazy one. I did like that stunt, but the thing was those movies were too expensive and they weren't recouping the money. And I just think that people just kind of moved on from the Mission Impossible movies. So it's like people are moving on from that. Tom Cruise was kind of like making him the center of it all when it should have been about the team. Because I always like when you do those ensemble situations. And just like people just moved on from that. And I just feel like the same thing with the Fast and the Furious. But like it's had a good run. People are moving on from it. You have the people that sit and love the thing and it's about family and blah 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 blah. But um it needs some new life breathed into it. I couldn't get it. They killed off his wife, brought her back, keep the real dead guy alive. How they uh and then Jason Momoa said he ready to go. I forgot to bring that up. Jason Momoa said, I haven't read a script. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to film. What's happening with him? Dante Reyes, who he's playing the son of uh one of the villains from what was it? I think it was Fast Five when they went and they stole the money from the vault. Yeah, Dante is the son, and Jason Momoa was playing him, and I look, he chewed up the scene in regards to being the villain in that. So, um, I think they should definitely bring him back because he was definitely a highlight of that messy movie. He made good of, he did what he could with that mess of a script. Would Paul Walker still be a big name at today's box office? Probably not. I don't think he would. I mean, he was pretty to look at. But yeah, after that, I just don't. Yeah, I don't see that he would have probably. If Paul Walker's alive, I could probably see him doing straight to streaming type movies. You said they're literally writing a franchise. Well, the wheels did fall off. Literally, it's been going on for almost 20. Exactly. Sometimes the franchise, the one thing about Hollywood, y'all really don't know how to just move on from stuff. They just continue. They will wear that damn franchise out until the people just like, okay, we've had enough. And that's another thing too when it comes to the movies. I think that was also, I think, why the Smash Machine. People just don't have the wherewithal to just be like, you know what? I'm just gonna go spend money in the theater to go see the Smash Machine because it's like I gotta spend $20 on a ticket because regular movie tickets I think is like $17. And then it's like I got to spend that much money on a ticket. Then I got to get concessions, unless you're one of those that like to sneak stuff into the movies. Um, like my grandmother taught me when I was a kid. May she rest in peace. She was messy though. But and then only to be like, okay, it was all right. So it's like, yeah, we pick and choose. Whereas like you could sit at home, rent the movie for like $20 and have a bunch of people come over and watch. I could order pizza from Pizza Hut or whatever. And one $20 situation on a rented movie is how you save money. It's like streaming in a way is the great equalizer. Besides, what else can they do? They already went to Share. Don't even get me started on that. They should take notes from Jurassic. Should they? Because Jurassic, that last Jurassic, uh, I hated that movie. That movie was so terrible. But Rebirth made a whole lot of money, and I'm sure they're going to ask Scarlett to come back and make another one. But now some people saying they should bring Chris Pratt back. I do not like him, but if they find a way to want to incorporate the both of them in the next movie, then people will go see it. That too. Pirate the movie, as some people do. I try to be a good Christian because I don't do those things. I couldn't even say that with a straight face. Going to the movies costs almost $40 just to get a drink and snack. No, because it's like if I get concessions, the concessions is $30. Then it's like, okay, because I have AMC A-list, at least I get 4 free movies out of the whole deal. After that, then I got to start paying for a ticket, whatever the case is. So, um, even if I'm getting like the free ticket because of the A-list, you still pay, including IMAX and Dolby. I'm still paying $35-$40 because I'm like, nope, it's ridiculous. And I already know like the movie theaters make their money from the tickets. All right, y'all. So now let's move on and let's get into this situation regarding Andy Muschietti because there's always been rumors and stuff regarding is he or is he not going to be a part of the Brave and the Bold. When that comes out, we weren't really sure if that was going to be happening. James Gunn likes to talk out of both sides of his mouth, and then I'd be like at the end, huh? Like what? What are you saying? Because you always like to just edge people and say a bunch of goddamn nothing, and it just be some damn word salad. But nevertheless, Andy Muschietti was recently asked if he is still going to be a part of the Brave and the Bold because you already know James Gunn said that well everybody wants to play Batman, which I guess is a given. Batman is an equally dark, complex character. He's got cool gadgets. You get to do some really cool fight stuff. Well, at least when we saw Ben Affleck play him, he got to really do some good fight sequences. And most recently, uh Battinson with the Batman. So yeah, so since the beginning, when James Gunn was putting together his Gods and Monsters DC universe. Andy Muschietti, who did the It films and The Flash, which was not a good movie, in my opinion. Now, there's been a back and forth on whether or not he's still attached to the situation. So, and this has been 3 years since it was announced, where not only that, but The Authority, we had Waller, Booster Gold. We don't know what's going on with those movies either. Although, in regards to The Authority, James Gunn did allude to the fact that he is thinking about possibly turning The Authority into a TV series, which, in my opinion, will probably fare as much better if they decide to do a 10-episode series on HBO Max. And you kind of like found a way to incorporate that in the world of Peacemaker. Because Peacemaker be doing some crazy shit, and people actually like the show. But when it comes down to with the Authority, I definitely think that they could play in that whole wheelhouse and do something with that, and it'll probably resonate on the smaller screen way better. Although I'm sure people will be complaining about Midnighter and the Apollo and Midnighter being the gay Batman and Superman and all this other stuff. But these snowflakes always bitching about something. So anyway, so they said the Dark Knight made a shadowy cameo appearance in Creature Commandos. But work on the team up with Robin isn't progressing as quickly as many fans would like. DC Studios co-CEO James Gunn has admitted to having a hard time figuring out the character, something likely not helped by Matt Reeves' admittedly long delayed plans for the Batman Part 2. With the movie finally taking shape, Gunn may have an easier time figuring out how to differentiate the DCU's Batman from the one portrayed by Robert Pattinson. He said that a writer is attached, but what of filmmaker Andy Muschietti? So as I've been saying before, we've been hearing conflicting reports about whether or not the Flash and the It director will take the helm, which basically is about Batman and Robin. But then remember, there was a situation which left me scratching my head that James Gunn was saying they may or may not ditch Damian Wayne. Excuse you? How you gonna make the Brave and the Bold without Damian Wayne? Like, make that make sense. But a fan on Twitter by the name of @Gotham2739 recently posted a photo of himself and Muschietti meeting out in the world and claimed to have gotten a few minor updates about the filmmaker's plans for The Brave and the Bold, saying he is still attached to direct the film, the fan wrote, adding, the film will not go into production soon, especially since the Batman Part 2 will be entering production next year. I asked Andy if he's aware that a writer has been attached. He is aware that a writer is attached, and I think he is aware of the story. While it's basically hard, excuse me, to fault DC Studios for taking its time to do the right by the DCU's Batman, fans growing increasingly frustrated is understandable. It surely shouldn't be this hard to tell the Cape Crusader story, and at this rate, a Wonder Woman movie might arrive before The Brave and the Bold. Well, look, as long as they get something off the damn ground, because I feel like what James Gunn should have did was sit up in here and say, we had initial plans. We were going to, because let me tell you something. I do not believe Wonder Woman was initially part of the whole Gods and Monsters plan. Although she is a god, she should have been included from the beginning. But he had a whole plan because we saw the list that they came out with. Like, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do Boost to Go. We're gonna do the Brave and the Bold. We're gonna do the Authority. We're gonna do all these things, and people got excited. Creature Commandos was also part of it. We already got the first season of that. Peacemaker season 2. We already got that. That's about to wrap up its season this week. So we already got like all those things, but then it's like all these other movies, like now we had an initial idea. Now it's like because of the way things are, and Superman was what it did. Now it's kind of like we're in this different kind of situation, and now we're changing course a little bit. I don't know why they just can't be open and honest and just say that. We had initial plans to go this way. Now that we kind of got an idea what's going on. We're kind of shifting gears. If you would have said that, I think that some of the fans would have been upset, but they would have understood, and that's business. Like you explain something enough to people, they're gonna get it. But it's just too much. And I think what it is, the frustration, particularly with a lot of the fandom and myself, is the fact that y'all can just keep saying stuff, and it's like you're jerking me off without lube, with like sandpaper, and then it's just like I'm about to nut, and then you kind of like just back off and keep edging me. And it's like, stop with the edging. I want a nut. And it's just like, just be upfront and honest with the stuff. And it's just like the back and forth with everything, and James Gunn with all his isms and it's just like, it just comes across as sheer bullshit. And I'm just annoyed with it. So it's just like, look, if you need to take your time with the whole Brave and the Bold thing, and you're just trying to be like, okay, we just want to let them finish with the Batman Part 2, and then we'll come in and decide what we're going to do with the other stuff. If that's what y'all want to do, then that's fine. But I need James Gunn to actually just be doing behind the scenes stuff and actually acting like the Kevin Feige of the DCU, instead of trying to be the face and jump in and say all this other stuff and be on social media every 2 seconds with something and saying a bunch of nothing, and then we're getting irritated. Now, they said, "Do I have ideas about actors who can play Batman?" Gunn basically said, "Absolutely, I do. I have guys I like. I have guys that are top of the list for me, just like I have people that were at the top of the list for Superman. But if you're not directing Batman, how do you get to choose who the actor is? Wouldn't that be up to Andy Muschietti? If this is the movie he's directing, but I guess with you being the co-CEO, you do get to have a say so, correct?" He said people can guess and maybe they'll be right about certain things. We'd have a screen test. We'd have to do the whole thing. The script isn't done. I mean, we've got somebody writing a script. I think it's really good. As for the continued debate about an Elseworlds and DCU Batman sharing theaters, the DCU co-CEO clearly doesn't believe it's overly important. First of all, we all get Elseworlds. We understand Elseworlds. If you explain it up to the fans, they'll get it. A lot of the hardcore comic book fans, they understand Elseworlds stuff. It's not a big deal. If people can't understand and differentiate the fact that we have two separate Batmans and two different stories going on, then you're about as slow as you look. So it's not that hard to understand, like, that they could possibly do that. Just get the goddamn movie made already and figure out who you're gonna have play Batman and who you're gonna have play Damian Wayne, because you cannot do a Brave and the Bold movie without Damian Wayne being in it. Make it make sense. Well, I'm hoping at least the Batman Part 2, y'all will try to find a way to incorporate Robin in that world. It'd be cool to see if we can get that going, but we won't know until both movies come out and we see what ideas y'all got going with that. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story regarding Andy Muschietti saying yes, he is still on board directing The Brave and the Bold? And well, y'all better hope that he don't have nothing else cooking up in the meantime that he wants to get done and not still sitting on his hands waiting for y'all to figure out what the hell y'all doing with this movie. Because I'd have been like, I'll be filming other shit while y'all figure out what the hell y'all doing over there at the DCU. I'm not just going to sit and wait around for y'all to figure out what the hell y'all doing over there. I got other things that I want to do. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. And 4K TVs get. How many times have I said that on this show? I've been like, some people try to the movie, the movie, the movie. I'm like, I mean, I ain't gonna say fuck the movies. I do like going to the movies for certain things, but I always said like it's got to be an event. When Scream 7 comes out, I already know I got to be in the movies open tonight. That's if no shade. I love you, Robert, but if you could STF you long enough to start sending spoilers to me before I get to the movies and see the damn movie. So, because he loves spoiling stuff, and I be getting mad. It's like, if you know the spoilers, keep it to yourself. But I keep telling y'all, when I go to the movies, I don't want to know, especially if it's something that I want to figure out on my own. I don't want people spoiling stuff for me. So when it comes to the TV, the surround sound, all that other stuff, everything looks so much cleaner, so much crisper, so much better when you're at home. So I'd rather sit at home and watch a movie. And plus, luckily, I've been going to the movies. People have not been getting on my damn nerves. And I think it's only because I go early in the morning, number one. And number two, when a lot of y'all at school and at work, I work different crazy hours. So when you work in live entertainment, that's always at night. So that helps a lot in a lot of situations. So while everybody's at work and in school, I schedule things intentionally because I don't want to deal with morons when y'all get out of work. Because if y'all start making noise, I'm gonna cuss you out. I'll be wanting to fight. I'm not trying to go to jail. It'd be a whole situation. So I know a lot of people complain about, well, I don't like going to the movie because people kick your chair, people on your phone, people blah, blah, blah. Now when I go, and I think it's also because I go to the movies in Lincoln Square, which is more uppity. So people know how to behave themselves in that whole environment. And every now and again, I'll go to the one on 34th Street, but even there, people behave themselves at 30. But I think it's because I go early in the morning when people are at work and people are at school. So, but then all of a sudden, like you're correct, is that the TVs are much better. People can watch things at home and not have to, and they could do whatever they want in their own house. So you ain't got to deal with noise and all this other stuff, or you can be as noisy as you want in your own house, or whatever the case is. That if you got to go to the bathroom, you can pause it, go to the bathroom, come back and unpause it. Which a lot of time when I go to the movies, and I think it's because I'm getting older, I be having to go to the bathroom. And it's because I be drinking coffee and all that other stuff. And I will go to the bathroom before the movie starts. But then the bladder be bladdering again. And then it's like, damn, I'm about to miss a good part. And I be thinking, I'm like, okay, this part seems a little slow. Let me go run real quick. Hollywood PR claims it's about art, but in reality, it's a business. Yes, it is. And like most business folks, they live in a fishbowl and listen to themselves and not the public. Stop with the edge, and I want a nut. Okay, exactly. He said it's not. Yeah, a lot, and especially, I think it's also to get back to this story. I think it's due to the fact that you have a lot of corporate people that are running studios now. It's not a lot of studio people who have a passion for movies. You have a lot of these bankers and all this other stuff who are running companies now, and now you got a bunch of damn Zionists who's running people like Paramount. Don't even get me started on them. And then that Bari Weiss bitch that now is running fucking CBS News. Get ready for a lot of the propaganda that's about to come out of that that network. That CBS is cooked at this damn point. Who child of ghetto? All right, so let's move on. After saying all of that, let's move on. Now, speaking of sitting at home and watching things on a crispy 4K TV with surround sound, let's get into something that I actually watched in good quality surround sound and 4K. Let's talk about Ed Gein, because it looks like while everybody's out here critiquing and throwing shade and all this other stuff at the film, the movie did well, things wise. But before we get into the whole Charlie Hunnam and how he felt about the whole Ed Gein, situation, I do want to give a congratulations in a way to uh Netflix, which the movie, or I don't know why I keep calling it a movie, it's an anthology series. The anthology series brought in a whopping 12.2 million views in its first four. Wait, it said its first 4.3 on Netflix. What the hell does that mean? It said that's just a hair lower than the debut of Monster Season 2, subtitled The Lala Eric Menendez Story, which reached 12.3 million views in 2024. However, the Menendez debut was calculated over a 4-day opening weekend, while Ed Gein only had 3 days to rack up views before the release of the release of the Netflix top 10. It's presumable that the latter would have occurred enough views in a 4-day to surpass its predecessor. So, it said from the week of September 29th to October 5th, the only show to beat was Wayward, Mae Martin's mystery series that achieved 14.1 million views this week after debuting at the top of the charts the week before. I'm hearing things about Wayward. I haven't seen it yet, but I definitely want to check it out. But in addition to all of that, it's funny how it's getting all this attention and everything. But look, Charlie Hunnam said that he was initially concerned about playing Ed Gein when he got, he came in and he got to do the part and all the other stuff. He said he had a little trepidation with playing the role. So Charlie Hunnam was not initially too gung ho about playing serial killer and grave robber Ed Gein in the latest season of the Netflix monster. In fact, he worried he'd make a terrible misstep taking on the shocking role. He said, quote, once I said yes to this, I thought I'd made a horrible mistake. Well, he said it with a British accent. I'm not even going to try that. He said, this is what he told Entertainment Weekly. I started researching it, reading all the books about Ed Gein, and I fell into a full panic. I just thought there might be no coming back from this. This is so dark to inhabit this character. Here's the thing. I wonder if Evan Peters, who was in the new Tron movie, by the way, um, felt the same way when he played Jeffrey Dahmer. And to be quite honest, when I saw Jeffrey Dahmer, it's weird how I could not finish that movie, right? But I was able to finish this movie, this show. I couldn't get through Jeffrey Dahmer. And I think it was because it felt too close to home. It was a guy going around killing homosexuals of color. And he was cutting them up and killing them and eating them. And just a lot of that, especially with the fears of Jeffrey Dahmer was actually before my time. I was a kid when all those stories and stuff came out, so I wasn't sexually active. I wasn't doing all that stuff around the times of when Jeffrey Dahmer was doing what he's doing. I wasn't old enough to get up in the club, so I was fine with that. But just rewatching it, it was a trigger because of all the stories you hear, especially when now we have the social media apps, and we've been hearing so many stories about the gays being targeted on these apps by people who either robbing them and all this other crazy stuff. So it did ring home, even though I couldn't relate to that because it was before my time. But still, um, then they said this season, the third in the horror anthology series, picks up in 1950s rural Wisconsin and follows a titular monster known as the Butcher of Plainfield, or the Plainfield Ghoul, and tells the tale of his perverse crimes, which would go on to inspire the on-screen horrors seen in Psycho, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and the Silence of the Lambs. Hunnam said that he calmed down a bit when he actually read the scripts for the season, written by co-creator Ian Brennan, probably because there was a lot of fabrications going up in there. You was probably able to ease your mind with a lot of what was going on in that whole situation. Because me reading the script, I'm like, wait a minute, I read all the books and I don't recall him helping track down future serial killers like he was a dude from, oh my God, what's the name of that show with James Spader? Remember they caught him and he was going around bringing a bunch of criminals to justice. It wasn't the blacklist. I'm like, this ain't the blacklist. He wasn't the serial killer version of that where y'all were trying to make it, oh, I was out capturing others. Child, come on now. So Hunnam says that he calmed down a bit when he actually read the scripts, saying, quote, there was sort of a breakthrough when I started reading the scripts and realizing that we were not going to be focusing on what he did and doing a deep dive on that. We're really going to be focusing on why he did what he did and try to find the human being behind the monster. Well, that was one of the things I've always said in regards to serial killers, not necessarily trying to make humanize them, which I know a lot of people hate that. But here's the thing. Things aren't black and white when it comes to why people do what they do. Human beings are complex. I was always curious, like, what drove this person to become the person that they are? Are serial killers born crazy and nutbags and killers? Or is it because they are a victim of circumstance, and because of the circumstances in their life, do they become the way they become? Particularly when we talk about Ed's mother, who was a fucking nut, her damn self. And her with her religious crap and going in and being like, women are whores and Jezebels and gotta stay away from that and all that other stuff. And how she wanted to have that control over her sons because I felt like it was a fear of her being alone. So, when you have those people who fear the outside world and you have these children, she was kind of reminding me so much of Carrie White's mother too, or was it just me? She was giving me Piper Laurie tease in regards to how she treated Carrie White, and Carrie White had to snap at one damn point. It was like things are gonna change around here, and then she used her powers on her mother. It was like, oh, bitch, you better back the fuck up in that whole situation. So, uh, he also said that he's not a really big fan of horror movies. But he said that he tried to find the truth of Gein, even though he couldn't relate to the heinous things he did. Well, child, if you can relate to that shit, then I have to look at you with a side eye. Because I'm like, if you having them actual kind of thoughts, I'm going to keep away from me, sir. They were like, that's like a human thread that connects all of this that you go like, right? And he was a really bad avenue that you went down as a consequence or reaction to this thing that you experience, but I understand what it was that you experienced and how that feels. And so it was sort of a sort of building on that. On wait, what? Hold on, let me go back. And it said, and so it was sort of building on from that and just trying to make it human and honestly trying not to judge him, but really being careful not to have too much empathy for him if it was a real tightrope to walk. So it's like, yeah, you try not to judge because you got to play this character, but also don't empathize. And that's like kind of like the tightrope, not only as an actor, but as a writer as well. Like you don't want to humanize them a little too much that we start to feel bad for them, but also you don't want to empathize with them too much that you get into that whole situation. So there is that little tightrope that as a writer, as a filmmaker, when you're shooting those scenes, and as an actor that you have to walk and trying to find that balance. Yeah, but he said he doesn't like horror, dark, bleak stories. But then he also said that it was kind of a strange choice for him, so much so that he was truly gobsmacked when series co-creator Ryan Murphy asked him to play Gein during a 2-hour dinner conversation. He said, I just found myself saying yes, based, I would say, like 99% of it on just how much I liked Ryan. Well, you might be the only one because a lot of people don't particularly care for him, including India Moore, but and Angelica Ross. But we'll get into the people coming from Ryan Murphy in the next topic. And they said, now that it's been done, Hunnam says the process of playing Ed Gein taught him something about himself, saying, I think I learned the truth of like that which you most need to find is where you least wish to look. The greater the challenge, the greater the reward. And the challenge of inhibiting a dark, gruesome in a weird roundabout way, brought a lot of joy and levity to the set. Saying that we were challenging ourselves so much We were really trying to do something good with this. It wasn't just like some superficial, gory, like whatever. We were really trying to apply ourselves and everything we knew about the human condition, everything we knew about filmmaking, and we managed on several occasions to rise to the level of our ambition. And as somebody who really cares about what they do, that feels amazing. So there was like a joy that came from challenging ourselves and occasionally reaching the star that we were grasping for. So he said, so it was good. It was really beautiful experience, but definitely dark times, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. So they're saying how we gonna get through the day. So it was a whole lot. Seems like he said in that, but it was like, yeah, I can totally understand. It's like as an actor, I don't know if I want to play this part. Do I want to even go there in this situation? And you took the risk. People said that they thought you did a phenomenal job. I know there's one person in the comment that in particularly think you was a good actor. Sure they still here in the comments. Um, but thought he did a good enough role. I didn't particularly like the voice choice of what he did in regards of Ed Gein, but I thought he did a solid job, and I thought Laurie Metcalf did an amazing job too. I do think that they both should be nominated, although there were some issues, and I say that with every season of Monster that I take. There's issues I take with some of the fabrications regarding of certain things that you like to put in these stories. But for the most part, I always look at the acting and the cinematography and all the other stuff. And I thought visually, I think out of all the monster franchises, this was the most solidly done. Although, yeah, there were the fabrications aside, I do think that this was a finally y'all gave us a solid series. Now, depending on what y'all do with Lizzie Borden, because that's the next one, is TBD. But for the most part, I don't think that this was as bad as a lot of people, specifically with the Rotten Tomatoes score that people were saying. So shout out to you, Charlie Hunnam. And yeah, so I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story regarding Ed Gein and what Charlie Hunnam had to say? I mean, I could totally understand as an actor, that's a heavy load to take on because, like we've heard about before, when Evan Peters went and played this part, he retreated for a long time and what kind of went off the grid and how much that when you're embodying a real life character, how much that takes out of you, especially if you're kind of like one of those method actors or whatever the case is. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. You say Dolly Parton's sister, Frida, asked for. Don't tell me that we're about to lose Dolly. I don't think that. I don't think that residency is gonna happen. You said I was 15 when I heard about Jeffrey Dahmer. I was just starting to go to clubs then. My dad worked nights, so it was. Ooh, you was out sneaking out. He said, I think sometimes it's the way they are raised and how their parents treat them. Sometimes it's also the way people are treated by other kids. Yeah, I do think like a lot of times it's the environment. It could be the way the kids are treated. The way they're raised by their parents. When you start isolating your kids and making them uber religious and all of this, I mean, we see a lot of, especially with a lot of these stories about how we got these homegrown killers and terrorists, especially with this current administration, Stephen Miller out here using dog whistles and when judges are blocking a lot of the stuff that they're doing for the country, you got a lot of their supporters who are going around burning down judges' houses. We had a recent person who was a Charlie Kirk fan, and because some girl was pissed off about what talking shit about Charlie Kirk, he went and ran them down with his car. Two girls. And then went on, had the nerve to go on a live stream and talk about, oh, I heard about the girls and condolences. But then with all of the little videos, people started looking into it, figured out he was the one that was behind the hit and run. So a lot of y'all, not only you dumb because y'all are radicalized in a lot of ways, but you snitch on yourselves because y'all like all that damn attention. And he snitched on himself. There's been way too many of that. A lot of these people going around shooting up churches and all kinds of other stuff because they're radicalized. So I do think it's a radicalization of the environment. And now we have it happening even more because of social media and a lot of these markets or whatever. Because look, even with Charlie Kirk, the story regarding behind him, Republicans were losing the younger audience because they had Rush Limbaugh and all this other stuff back in the day. So they were trying to figure out how do we reach the younger audience. You had like the 70-year-old, whatever, I forget his name, 70-year-old Republican who went and threw a lot of money behind Charlie Kirk's companies and all the other stuff. They were trying to go one way about it. It wasn't working. So then they started throwing in the racism and the homophobia and all that other stuff. And that, of course, got people all, because when you start hating on marginalized groups, that does get you a lot of attention. So that's how his foundation and everything got built. And so it's always about follow the money in a lot of ways. Been seeing a lot of feedback where they say a lot of things in the series isn't true and or exaggerated. Yeah, I did a whole segment on that yesterday and even clipped it and put it on the channel. I don't think I added it to my other social media. I mean, I did add it to my TikTok and I added it to the YouTube. But yeah, we were going back and forth where I was like, some of the stuff that they said was fabricated, especially wasn't it Adeline, whatever, that whole relationship they said was false. The fact that they alluded to the fact that he may have killed his brother was not true. There was a lot of stories that they were saying in there that, you morph into the people you're around, much less the people you admire. Absolutely. I believe that too. It was mostly made up. Not many people know about his life before he started killing people. His father isn't mentioned in the show, and I heard that his father was a big part of how he turned out. His father, I mean, we only saw that brief scene of his father where he was slumped over the floor drunk, and I think he pissed himself, and then the mother kicked him out the house. He slapped her. This is my house. You don't kick me out the house. He smacks her. She punches him in the face and tells him not to come back. That was the only scene we seen of his father. But if he turned out a lot of that because of the father and not necessarily the mother, then that's just a lot of, because he was an alcoholic and died 5 years before the mother. They said the Lizzie Borden story is going to be mostly, of course it is. Me, that's me. Charlie is better seen, not heard. Uh-huh. Who was you? He said some people are also just heal their trauma in terrible ways. Well, self-medication, all that stuff. Not my dolly. They do say long-term spouses often quickly follow each other into the great beyond. That is true. When did her husband pass away? Because I remember hearing that story. How recent was that? All right. Anyways, we're not done with our Ryan Murphy stuff. So let's get into this. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna have to blow my nose. My nose is itching and I'm getting annoyed. Hold on a second. I can't keep up in here rubbing my nose like I'm a damn cokehead. It's like, I'm tired of it. It's like, come on now. It's like I told you, it's the fan hitting my nose, and then my nose is itching, and then it's allergy season. It just be a whole mess up in here. Oh, last year, yeah, that it does seem like yeah, I do believe that because I always be thinking that too. That when a person's spouse passes away, how long before they go? Okay, so anyway, we have more. Where is it? Oh, okay, I got it. We have more monster news. So let's get into it. So we talked a little bit about it yesterday in regards of when we talked about, I gave my overall thoughts on the whole Ed Gein story. There is, if you have seen it or if you haven't seen it, there is a sequence where they juxtapose scenes from Psycho into the movie because Ed Gein's story was inspired by Psycho, also the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and a bunch of other movies, including Silence of the Lambs, where you do see a scene with Charlie Hunnam with some dead person's skin on his face and the wig or the hair, and then he tucks his dick between his legs, similar to Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. But in this film, they also kind of juxtaposed Anthony Perkins' closeted homosexual life within the situation of Ed Gein, which pissed off a lot of fans. And I even said when I was talking about it, I was like, I wonder how Anthony's. I don't remember how many kids that he. I don't know if he has just Oz Perkins or he has multiple children, but I wonder how Anthony Perkins' family actually feels about the way he was portrayed in this film. So let's get into the story. So the writer director has been called tasteless over the depiction of the closeted homosexual actor who famously played Norman Bates in the 1960 film Psycho. The film is one of the several that has been based on Ed Gein over the years, and the others, as I mentioned, Silence of the Lambs has a Chainsaw Massacre. Charlie Hunnam, as y'all know, plays Gein in the film that examines the horrific acts that he did, including murders, the exhuming of corpses, the using of body parts to create masks, as well as furniture and utensils. They also took a look at the lasting impact his crimes have had on the media. And then also they had to debunk something regarding them saying that he used chainsaws, which was not true. The chainsaw was an idea that Toby Hooper had when he was coming up with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and his character of Leatherface. But they decided to put that all up in there. But anyway, so Perkins, who was played by Joe Polari, is introduced early on in the series where he's cast in Psycho, but Alfred Hitchcock was played by Tom Hollander, which was partly inspired by Gein's crimes. Rumors about Perkins' sexuality followed the actor since he made his Broadway debut in 1954's Tea and Sympathy. Monster follows Perkins, who remained closeted his whole life in a secret relationship. I knew I was correct. I was like, when I was looking at that actor, I'm like, is that Tab Hunter? Apparently it was. Because I was like looking at him, I was like, why the actor that they cast as him in that scene when they was in the bed? This is when we first see them during a man on man hunchation situation. And I was like, is that Tab Hunter? They did good casting with the actors of looking alike. Because I even noticed like the scene of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre when they was doing like the whole relative, the family or whatever. I had to take a second time. I'm like, did they take footage from Toby Hooper's movie, or is this really like they did a good job with the casting of the actors? So shout out to them for that. But anyway, let's get back into the tea. So yeah, so it says that Monster follows Perkins, who remained closeted his whole life in a secret relationship with Hollywood heartthrob Tab Hunter, who came out as a homosexual in his 2005 memoir, Tab Hunter Confidential. I actually have that book, by the way. The making of a movie star in which he discussed the pair's relationship. The inclusion of Perkins in his story is an interesting addition to a series that could so easily focus purely on Gein, but it's an addition that hasn't gone down terribly well with viewers. One scene shows Perkins and Hitchcock exploring the recreation of Gein's house used for the Psycho set. While this is happening, Hitchcock monologues about urges, commenting that polite society burdens us with the fiction that these urges do not exist. He continues, quote, this transforms urges into secrets we must hide, and these secrets make us sick. Gein had a secret, a sexual function he could not express, and his inability to express this version of the sexual act turned inwards and transformed into sickness. Addressing Perkins directly, Hitchcock says, I chose you because you alone understand this sickness. You have a secret, Mr. Perkins, don't you? He adds, and the secret is making you sick. I had to cast you, Anthony. You're like him. Now, during the scene, Hunnam's Gein enters and makes a meal using a bowl made from a human skull. As Hitchcock has finished, after Hitchcock is finished, he and Perkins stare at one another. Perkins is clearly fearful of the comparison and of himself potentially turning into Gein. The series appeared to draw a disturbing line, and rightfully so, between Gein's horrendous crimes and Perkins' closeted sexuality. And after the series debuted on Friday, some took to social media to air their views. And my thing is, Ryan, you a whole faggot. This is what you letting come out here in the media and the news. Like this is what you doing. The juxtaposition of what Gein was going through and comparing homosexuality to being a sickness. Aren't you a whole gay man? This is what I can't with a lot of these Hollywood people. A lot of them, even though if they're out or not even out, that self-hatred that exists in a lot of them, and the fact that y'all have the platforms to just be promoting this crap. is why I think a lot of people come out and feel the way that they feel. So what the people said. Now, one person said on Twitter, Ryan Murphy is so tasteless to me, man. If you're going to do an Anthony Perkins biopic, do an Anthony Perkins biopic and give him the respect he deserves. But you compare Ed Gein to a closeted, being a closeted killer to him being a closeted gay man is homophobia. And yes, gays can be homophobic too. Self-hatred is real. Trust and believe. Similar, another viewer took issue with the connection between Gein and Perkins, adding Ryan Murphy, hell is hot. Another person described the scene as unnecessary and false. Now, on TikTok, one person called Murphy insensitive over the depiction of Perkins. However, someone else praised the episode as a masterpiece for explaining the feeling of being queer when everyone sees it as unclean or monstrous. So that could have been also the direction of what they were trying to say is that remember, in those days, people looked at homosexuality as a disease, as something that is unclean, disgusting, a disease. Like people did look at homosexuality as that back in the day. Remember, homosexuality didn't become something that was legal and not considered as a mental illness until the 70s. When Psycho came out, it was in the 60s. So it was a long time before we had to come to the conclusion that homosexuality is something that is normal and not something that is deemed a mental illness, which it was perceived as back in the day. Because if it wasn't, we wouldn't have had situations that happen where the gay rights movement, Stonewall, so on and so forth. Now, the series also showed Perkins undergoing the now debunked practice of conversion therapy by way of electroshock therapy. It's a path recommended to him by psychologist Mildred Newman, played by Mimi Kennedy, who Perkins did work with in real life. Newman was Newman was an advocate for conversion therapy, the act of trying to forcibly change someone's sexuality or gender identity. Well, was this person homosexual themselves for you to be encouraging this foolishness? Murphy's latest season of Monster is not the first to draw a backlash from viewers. As I told y'all before, people had issues with the Jeffrey Dahmer season, Eric La Menendez, especially a lot of the gay rights groups and a lot of people who were of the LGBTQ plus community took issue with the depiction of Jeffrey Dahmer and what was happening to a lot of people at that time and a lot of the fabrications. So, and glorifying true crime. And remember, there was a big issue regarding the Menendez brothers where Ryan Murphy was called out for incestuously, or is this incestuously? I think is the word. Sexualizing their relationship, making it seem like that the Menendez brothers was fucking, and it's just like child, I need to go up in your house and start checking your computer because some of the things you be coming up with got me side eyeing you in regards of what you really be into. Do we gotta get the FBI on you like they did Austin Wolf? So Eric even called out Murphy for his depiction of himself. Murphy responded, saying the Menendez brothers should be thanking him for the interest in their case that he generated. And that sounds like something an arrogant SOB producer and someone with a lot of power in Hollywood would say, oh, you should be thanking me. Motherfucker, sit and spin. How about that? That's what you need to be doing. Going to sit up and tell me you should be thanking me. I mean, in a way, it was like, yes, it did bring attention to their case, and even to the point where people were saying that, you know what, maybe we should consider relooking and reopening the Menendez brothers case or whatever the case is. It seemed like they're not gonna get out, but at the same time, it's like it did bring interest in people wanting to re-examine their case. All the other people, Jeffrey Dahmer's dead, Ed Gein is dead, rightfully so. They both deserve to rot in hell. And Lizzie Borden, she died like 100 years ago, so she deserved to be dead. She dead too, and they about to make her thing. But the Menendez brothers, at least with them being alive and that case being 30 some odd years old, you could re-examine that case and see like if it needs to be reopened and re-examined and were they a victim of circumstance. The one thing I'm hoping that they don't touch now, and I was kind of being like maybe they should, but I'm like, leave Luigi Mangione alone. Please do not touch that story. Because remember, there was a situation that was going around. There was a rumor that he was looking at possibly wanting to take on that case. And I'm sitting there like, leave it alone. I don't need you out here touching Luigi Mangione. We already want him to go free from various reasons because we got people interfering with his federal case and all that other stuff. And we don't need Ryan Murphy getting his little greasy ass fingers on this story. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Did you see the Ed Gein anthology series? Did you also take issue? Because I told you when I watched it, I was definitely not feeling. I was not like. I felt a way about how Anthony Perkins was portrayed in that, and I'm just like, is he trying to equate the whole gay and serial killer? I just think maybe the execution didn't work well, but I could totally get where he was coming from and the possibility of like, yeah, in those days, people kind of looked at homosexuality as something that is evil, and when you hide that secret, the worst of you comes out. And that may have been what drew Anthony Perkins to wanting to play Norman Bates. Because in so many ways, when you have a secret or whatever the case is, you take a lot of what's going on in your real life or something that may have transpired in your personal life, and you bring that to the role that you're playing. They always teach you that in acting class. So it's like you dig down into a moment that may have happened in your life or something you may have seen or witnessed, encounter, whatever the case is, and you bring that to the character that you're playing. So maybe that's what he was trying to get at that, but it just the execution of bringing that story just didn't go over well with people that were watching the movie or the series. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. So hold on as I close up all these little windows and let's see what the people are saying. Oh, you said you watched Tab's documentary. He filmed it about a year before he died. I think I saw Tab on his documentary too. It actually was good. I may want to rewatch it. He's in one of my favorite not Polyester, child. Polyester was a good movie, though. I love John Waters. And you said they did, but you know mine is Serial Mom. And there's a sucker residence. And this is 1942. Fuck you. I do love that movie. They said they did do that to gay people in the 40s and 50s because they treated gay people like that. Absolutely. Christine Jorgensen was the first trans person I ever heard of, and the show tried to yeah, that was another issue I took with the film too. Is like the show is that they keep making it seem like, oh, Ed Gein may have been transgender, and it's like, no. Do we need to go through the old school term of the difference between transsexual, transvestite, and remember when they did that in Tu Wong Fu? I do believe that he was a cross-dresser. He was somebody that just had a fetish, a sexual fetish for wearing women's clothes. And I think maybe it was just like because of that strong connection that he had to his mother and pleasing his mother. That's why he liked wearing women's clothing. I do not think that Ed Gein was trans. Or maybe if you were to look back on it the way we look at it now, like people seem to also forget a lot of these different terms, the non-binary, the trans, like all these different terminologies. We didn't have that back then. A lot of this stuff was relatively new. He is very much a narcissist. Hmm I remember my cousin got in trouble when he was a kid in school because he was quoting lines from that movie. I remember him saying that. He was like, I think he was like 6, 7 years old, whatever. I said, that's your mama fault because she shouldn't have been showing you no damn serial mom at that age. All right, let's see. All right, y'all. So now let's get in some lighter news. And let's talk about Rosie O'Donnell, who is still out here speaking out regarding her beef with Elisabeth Hasselbeck. So she alleged that her iconic, show-stopping, infamous on-air fight with The View co-host Elisabeth Hasselbeck was an inside job. Now, the comedian and actress reflected on the legendary May 2007 exchange that saw the former colleagues spar amid a tense debate about American military activity in the Middle East. The heated on-air clash prompted the show's team to switch its live shot to a then unprecedented split-screen image, which produced one of the talk series' most memorable moments and ultimately resulted in O'Donnell exiting the show shortly thereafter. So she went on the Ricky Lee, Tim, and Joel podcast and basically spoke out about it. And now I do have the clip, courtesy of TikTok. So hold on as we go over to that. Let me close all these things because I'm getting a lot of messages regarding some of the videos that I posted on TikTok. We're going to play this clip and we'll come back and talk.
I cannot believe that this woman after all I did for her, because when I took that job, I made one commitment to myself that I was not going to be her enemy, that I was going to meet her as a person. And so she came to my house. She swam in my pool. She brought her little kid. I took her kid to Sesame Street Live. I took her to her first Broadway opening. Like, I bent over backwards for this woman. And here she was coming at me on national TV about whether or not I was patriotic. It felt to me like I was on a basketball team of 5 women, and one of them kept tripping me on my way to the hoop.
Yeah.
And then that when they had the split screen.
Did you know that was happening?
Of course not.
No.
And I looked up, and our producer is not on the fly kind of guy.
Right.
He wasn't like Mr. like, let's go to a split screen. That was prepared.
Oh.
Yes. So the whole thing, I think, was a setup.
All right. So, I do think also in a way that it was a setup, because somebody that was a genius in the series was like, oh, look, we could get a split screen of it, because then we can get like both sides, the reaction, all the other stuff. So whoever thought about that was genius. But I do think that maybe the debate and whatever the case was, I don't think it was set up. What I do probably think is that maybe because, as they say on The View, a lot of the women, they do have their own personal producers that come to them with certain things. So maybe what was going on is that they wanted, because they knew Rosie O'Donnell was somebody who was very much outspoken and is not somebody that's going to sit up there and not ask questions and really push the reality, the stuff that was going. Like, I definitely feel like Rosie O'Donnell be up there and talking about Gaza and all the other mess. Not like how Van Jones' coonish ass was recently doing that on Bill Maher's show, but I do feel like she would have said some pro-Palestine stuff, and they'd be like, you got to come in, you got to be pro-Zionist, you got to do all of that, which is kind of what the mother broads over there at The View, who are cut to the money that they make with that network. They want to continue to push that old mentality and that old propaganda. So Rosie O'Donnell's always been sort of a rebel rouser, somebody who is not, and I don't mean rebel rouser in a negative way. She's always been somebody that asks the questions and really push for stuff on the show. And I know that rubs a lot of people the wrong way. But a lot of times when you really want to see change, you really want to ask the question, you really want to do things, this is how you know who, the reality of who people are and stuff. And I think maybe there was some producer that was like, you know what, Elisabeth, you're supposed to be the conservative voice of The View. I need you to push back on Rosie a lot more. So I do feel like there was a lot of that messiness and shenanigans that was going on. And it helped in a way to bring more attention to and the ratings to go up. But I was like, hold on, because I do have the picture of the split screen of them, so we can go and take a trip down memory lane. And I was like, I had to find it because I got a lot of pictures in the file. There it is. Remember that photo? Iconic. So they say, yeah, the women fought on air about American troops in Iraq, and Hasselbeck eventually bringing up O'Donnell's longstanding feud with Donald Trump. O'Donnell took further issue with her feeling that Hasselbeck didn't defend her against oppositions, that O'Donnell was un-American for her opposition to military advances, saying, it felt to me like, oh wait, we already heard about the whole thing about the basketball team, so we don't need to get into that. And though O'Donnell left the program after the fight with Hasselbeck, she returned as a panelist from 2014 to 2015. Hasselbeck remained at the table until 2013 and returned as a guest co-host in 2022, an appearance O'Donnell spoke out against at the time, saying that it made her remember why I don't watch it with her anymore. Well, because Elisabeth's an idiot. And remember, I used to call her Elisabeth because I just felt like she is a dumb bitch. Like a lot of these blonde haired hair, the ones that use all that fucking hair dye, a lot of them that go on Fox News and a lot of these other channels, a lot of them are airheads like Tommy Lauren. She's another idiot that just got owned recently by Crystal Ball, and I was cackling over that, especially when this dingbat didn't even realize Puerto Rico was a part of the United States. Well, you don't have a problem with him saying F Trump, and all this. Well, fuck him too. How about that? Because he is an idiot and trying to take away a lot of people's rights and stuff. He's one of the worst presidents on the planet, and we've had some worse ones. So, Bush the second come to mind, but he's easily been surpassed by this moron in chief in the White House with his dementia. So, they've but funny enough, one thing they got in common, I'll say this: they've both spoken out against The View. where Hasselbeck slammed current panelist Joy Behar, who was at the Hot Topics table alongside Sherry Shepard for the O'Donnell-Hasselbeck duel, and said that O'Donnell told Brooke Shields in April of 2023 that she felt like her time on the show was a constant battle for her principles. And said, quote, I know this. It's not the best use of my talent to get in a show where I have to argue and defend basic principles of humanity and kindness. It was not something I'd ever do again. Explaining that she wanted to maintain a good relationship with Barbara Walters, the late Barbara Walters, who created The View. And despite leaving The View twice, she said, Barbara and I got along after. We went out to dinner. We knew each other way before I did that show, before she asked me to do it, and we remained friendly toward the end. I forgave her because she was older and did the best that she could with what she had to work with, but it's nothing I'd want to do again. I could say that. Well, girl, the best thing you did was leave The View, because that show was a shit show. It needed to be canceled. It's a mess. But I know that there's a certain demographic of people that watch the show. I already told y'all yesterday, even after when we talked about the segment of The View where Whoopi Goldberg was up in here talking about y'all need to get some damn cocoa butter and darken your skin and go and do a Latin accent at the Super Bowl halftime when Bad Bunny come out so y'all can confuse Ice. I'm like, this dumb bitch. First of all, she ain't even gonna be there. So why y'all even listen to what Ding Ding got to say about anything? I just feel like whatever brand of weed you using, sis, stop using it, because every time you open your mouth, dumb shit comes out. And number one, I could have sworn last time I checked, cocoa butter don't darken your skin. All it do is prevent you from being ashy. So if you was real black, if you was black like this, in the words of Funky Dineva, if you was black like this and not like this, a lot of times, maybe you would know what cocoa butter actually does. Maybe that's not what she meant, but that's what she said, and that's what I'm criticizing. So the best thing I feel like, well, there's no hope for Elisabeth. She over there cooked by the dummies over there at Fox News. But in regards of what Rosie O'Donnell's saying, it's like, this is why it's best to use social media and stuff, because real people out here who have progressive ideologies are not going on The View to say anything, because they want the status quo Democrats, the corporate Democrats, to still be out here spewing bullshit and propaganda because they hold on to a time that no longer exists. So if you want to sit up and be a part of the whole spineless Democrat brigade, then you do that. But that's not what I'm getting from Rosie O'Donnell. She seems like somebody who definitely has always been fairly opinionated. Now, I do feel like in this point, sis, now that you said what you said, move on from it. We done moved on from Elisabeth. I think you need to move on from her too. But I also think maybe at this point, I know some people are like, move on, move on, move on. It's easier to say that, right? But if people are going to consistently ask her about stuff, it's kind of like when they constantly ask Mariah Carey, do she know Jennifer Lopez? You're gonna keep asking me, I'm gonna just keep answering the question. Or when people get mad whenever they ask Pink about her beef with Christina Aguilera, I'm like, it was 27 years ago, get over it. I'm like, well, first of all, if the person is asking me the question, I'm gonna be like, well, I talked about that 50 million times already. Don't ask me about that. If she would have said that, y'all would have called her rude. They would have said she disrespectful. She has no respect for people. But so it's like you can't win regardless. So if somebody gonna ask me the question about Elisabeth and my time at the View and the split screen producers and all that other stuff, I'm gonna keep answering it if you're gonna keep asking. So whatever. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story regarding what Rosie O'Donnell had to say about her time at that tight ass show The View, back when they actually did go in and have real conversations about what was going on in the world? Now it's just Barbara rolling in her damn grave. Barbara not only rolling, she doing I'm sexy, I'm cute, I'm popular, the boo. She doing that whole cheer in her grave as we speak, because that show is a former shell of itself. That I don't even think, if y'all would have dig her ass, if you would have had Ed Gein resurrected his spirit, had him dig her ass up and put her in that damn studio in that seat. Oh, she'd gag. She'd be like, "What show was this? Because this ain't the show I dreamed up when we put it together." Me and Bill Getty. May he also rest in peace, because they both died. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. I saw a video of Kathy Griffin talking about the fight, and they have her doing stand up, telling the story and showing footage from The View. First of all, shout out to Kathy Griffin. She a mess. Hmm. Oh yeah, she tried coming for RuPaul. I was like, don't come for the black gay man. We read you down to the floor. Although, you know, people do have their issues with him, but, you know, it is what it is. All right, y'all. So, so right now we're at our final four topics before we get up off of here. So before I get to my final four topics, if you have not already, please hit that like button, smash the notification bell, hit that subscription. If you have not already, we're almost at 3K. So I'm trying to get there. I'm sure I'll get there by the end of 2025. But um look, it's been taking us a long time to get to, you know, us being the little engine that could. All the amount of work that I'll be putting into this messy show, none of it, I just want to show that none of it goes unappreciated. I do appreciate all of y'all. And, you know, hit that like button, all the good stuff, because it helps with the algorithm. So, without further ado, let's talk about my girl, Wendy Williams. How you doing? Now, it's been a minute since we talked about Miss Mama Wendy. But she's doing a lot of interviews. She recently did an interview with the New Yorker. I do have that cover, so I'm gonna show you in a minute. She's looking good lately. She also did an interview with the Cut, where she is giving an update on wait, I'm like, do I even have that? Oh wait, I do have it. Never mind, never mind, never mind. I was like, wait, I had the Instagram situated. I almost forgot what I had. Hold on, let me move it over. Almost forgot what I had up in here. So yeah, let's get into this Wendy Williams tea. So she did an extensive investigative cover story with The Cut. The famed radio broadcaster explained her disdain for the dementia facility where she is required to stay. Can y'all put the current president in there too? Because we literally see brain rot with him happening in real time. Now, some in close proximity to Williams agree that she should not be forced into her present circumstances, saying it's a dump, remarked the 61-year-old journalist Jessica Bennett. Did you see the people? The elderly people? Why do I want to look at that? This is a funked up situation. I can't tell you how many times I've asked that I be moved from this floor. Now, Williams is a resident at the coterie on the memory floor, where she is only allowed to make outgoing calls. According to the report, the facility is costing her $25,800 a month. As described, she is allowed to have an iPad, which she uses to listen to her old radio show, despite her well, she must be watching a lot of the YouTube too. I mean, is it on? They said, wait, where can I listen to her old radio show? And I wonder if she's watching the Wendy Williams show too, because it's on YouTube. They said, despite her court-appointed guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, allegedly not wanting her to have the device. But why y'all snitching? So then they went on to say, also, everything I do is here in this room, she said, explaining her visits to local restaurants. So I try not to eat here. She continued to explain that she had been attending not a mega church. We do not need you to be converted into that foolishness, because you know they all about the money and the propaganda. And I like that, you know, it gives me faith and keeps me very well in touch with God and myself. Well, I need you to take a more spiritual path. Leave the mega churches alone. That's a scam. But if whatever is helping you get what you need to do, and if that's what you need to do to help you get up out that building, then I guess stick with the mega church. Elsewhere in the story, people in the New Jersey native's close circle revealed their thoughts on her state of affairs, saying this woman doesn't miss a beat. This is what her publicist, Sean Zanat. She still with Sean. Isn't Sean the same chick, the big back chick that was in the reality, the Lifetime series that took her ass to California, was trying to get her a talk show while she was intoxicated? That same Sean Zanotti, we with her. Wendy, this is not a good start. If you're trying to find a way to get up out of this whole situation, you should have dumped her ass a long time ago. But if that's what you want to keep on your payroll, okay. So yeah, Sean out here saying that she don't believe Williams has dementia. But here's the gag. I don't know if Wendy has dementia. I can't speak on that. What I can speak on is we're not gonna sit up here and try to act like Wendy ain't all the way there. I do believe that there has been some damage done to that brain from years of alcohol abuse, drinking alcohol until you pass out, which is a cause of, you know, dementia, alcohol induced dementia. Now, they've done tests and things and have said that, and we've talked about the results and stuff on the show. And I've said this many a times. Do I want her to be treated like a slave or a prisoner the way they got her all locked up? I think she definitely needs somebody, a financial advisor, and someone who can get her to her doctor's appointments and that sort of thing. But do I think she need to be locked up in a facility like she a mental patient? No. I think Wendy should be allowed to live her life. So yeah, in 2024, she was labeled cognitively impaired, permanently disabled, and legally incapacitated as a previous diagnosis of primary progressive aphasia and frontotemporal dementia. Earlier this year, however, the former talk show host passed a psychological evaluation. Still in August, the court ruled she remained under guardianship, saying, quote, "There are family dynamics at play here." This is what a close source told The Cut. They cannot agree on what should happen. And the reality is, as long as they aren't united, they're not going to convince the court of anything. So, yeah, I guess at the end of the day, y'all need to figure out what is the best for her and what she needs to do in regards to her getting out of this court appointed situation. I don't know if she should be with her family in this situation, especially when it's alleged that her son, well, she even, can we call it alleged? When she's the one that even said this, if it wasn't for little Kev, she wouldn't be in this situation. Where I guess when she was going through her little drunken situation because his father's being a no good ass bastard, screwing another woman until he got her ass pregnant. And Wendy going through all the things she was going through behind the scenes while she was trying to maintain, the success of that talk show. She was at home self-medicating while Kelvin was out here running the damn streets. And so she up in here drinking until she passes out. Lil Kev, old enough to be able to do what he got to do, taking advantage of the situation and basically running up $100,000 on Uber Eats and among other things, which flagged Wells Fargo, her bank, and saying, "What is going on with all this money just disappearing all at once? You ordering all this food on Uber Eats, allegedly him trying to rent a whole yacht for his birthday. You need a yacht for it. You ain't Diddy. Diddy could run around doing all of that. He a mogul. He earned. Well, we ain't even gonna get into what was probably happening on them yachts under Diddy's situation. But in your situation, it's like if you're gonna be having a birthday party, that needs to be agreed upon by your mother. And you was over here running up her credit cards, allegedly. So there's a whole lot at play here. I do want Wendy to be able to get out of the mess that she's in, but it's hard to defend the situation because of the people that are surrounding you in your situation. So she's caught in a rock and a hard place. And it'll probably be even longer before we can get her out of this untangled web. But look, if y'all can let Britney Spears be running around here doing full-on shows in her foyer, in her Gerber baby panties, and them ugly ass brown shoes while shit is all over the floor in the living room behind her, then y'all can let Wendy Williams run free doing whatever the hell she want. Now y'all out here saying she got frontal temporal dementia, right? Same thing Bruce Willis got. But we've heard that Bruce Willis's condition has worsened over the years. We haven't seen like y'all saying the same diagnosis that Wendy has. She hasn't reacted the same way. Although I should say that, not everybody is required to react the same way, I guess, when you have been diagnosed with certain type of situations. Maybe she hasn't, maybe it's not as progressive as Bruce Willis, but you would think that, okay, if you're saying that I got frontal temporal dementia, that and aphasia, that it would get to that point at some point, that I'm confined to a wheelchair. And then I guess in the words of of Cardi B, my favorite color, your child's favorite color is 5. Like you would expect like it would get to that situation where it's like, can't talk. You banging spoon on the table in order to get people's attention. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story regarding Wendy Williams and this latest story that she did? Also, where I showed y'all the New York Magazine article that she recently did where they were talking about Wendy Williams wants out. And Jessica Bennett basically did a whole story where she said that she feels like she's in captivity, where they said on the cover she presents the most complete account to date of how Williams lost control of her life and the exclusive inside story of what's happening now. I definitely want to read that article because I want to see like if um in regards to that, one person in the comments said, "Why does this only happen to famous women when you have men like Kanye West? You got Donald Trump in there too, running around who actually need this kind of intervention." I mean, it's a fact though. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, I definitely want to hear from y'all. Let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. Oh, you said now you got me saying Wendy. Well, you know we got terminologies on here. I was like Wendy Williams. I can't even say her name regular no more. And then there was all the other terminology. Homosexual. Like I can't even say gay no more. We got all the different terminologies on this show. You know, I gotta find ways to stand out from the rest of these other hoes that be out here doing their shows on the streaming service. But I've always had little isms that I come up with and bring them into the situation. Even my friend said, he was like, you need to put some of these things on a damn t-shirt. That'll be the next thing. When I hit a certain mark, that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start selling merch and figure out how to do all of that. Okay, let me see where we going next. I just gotta close out this Wendy thing. And now let's get into wait, hold on, because I still got my comment open. All right. So now let's get into some drag race news. And let's talk about Miss Mhi'ya Iman LePaige, who was the latest drag race queen to come out as a trans woman. It's funny how I never expected that, but as I've been like, funny enough, I am currently watching season 16 of RuPaul's Drag Race, which Nymphia Wynn won. I'm still side on that choice. I'm still team. I am biased, yes. I still am team Miss Cristal, Saphira Cristal. I'm still her team her. Probably because I have a closeness with her in that whole situation versus Nymphia. I don't really know Nymphia like that, and doing a whole thing with Saphira during her situation. Y'all already know the tea, so I don't need to get into that. But yeah, so Mhi'ya is the latest to come out, debut a new look. I was like, girl, you just look like you in drag. But she said, I'm a woman now. Hear me roar. So the TV personality known for starring on RuPaul's Drag Race announced the news in an Instagram post shared on Thursday. In it, Mhi'ya, who was not confirmed her pronouns, posted two photos of her posing in a sexy bright pink and blue ensemble. She wore a skin-tight long-sleeve mini dress with an extremely low neckline, putting her cleavage on display. Were those really your titties, or was that just, when y'all be wearing them the breastplates? The reality star paired the look with knee-high pink boots, a massive gold stained necklace, and a black leather purse. Mhi'ya also sported a long curly black hairstyle that flows straight down her back, along with a full face of makeup, saying in the caption, "Can I be trans today?" Now, the comments were flooded with messages from friends and co-stars, former co-stars, applauding Mhi'ya on her openness and sharing her true self. So I said, wait now. Another person said, "You look absolutely gorgeous in these pictures." Another person said, "Yes, queen." Mhi'ya competed, as y'all know, as a drag performer on season 16 of RuPaul's Drag Race, where she's known as the Queen of Flips, and was one of the girls who was a lip sync assassin. Now, there's some time where I be side eyeing some of these girls from Drag Race. They be like, "Oh, I'm a lip sync assassin, right?" Mind you, they only sent one damn person home. Bitch, you got to be sent at least 4 or 5 before you can be considered a lip sync assassin. And Mhi'ya, I will say, was a lip sync assassin because she sent a multitude of chicks home before she was eventually sent home in episode 11 by Morphine Love Dion, who allegedly is on the upcoming season of All Stars. That will be 11. Now, despite not making it to the finale, Mhi'ya's time on the show was memorable as she was nicknamed the lip sync assassin for her incredible performances throughout the season. During a March 2024 sit down out South Florida, Mhi'ya revealed that she almost didn't make it to filming after some major wardrobe issues out before boarding her flight, saying, "I was literally not going to do Drag Race anymore because I didn't have the looks for the categories." And then shared the moment she decided to push through. She said, "It clicked, and something said, God put you in this position for a reason. Go in your room, put something in the suitcase, and go to the airport." And that's what I did. Now, several Drag Race stars recently underwent shocking transformations. As y'all know, Trinity the Tuck debuted her significantly changed appearance after undergoing numerous plastic surgeries to her face at once. I'm moving on from that. I'm not even dignifying that with a response. And Mistress Isabel Brooks, who starred in season 15, also left fans stunned after revealing her 200-pound weight loss without undergoing surgery or taking the diabetes medication Ozempic, which celebrities have commonly used for weight loss. And know what's the part that irritates me also about a lot of these queens? I mean, not queens, these people that use Ozempic, a lot of them go around who are literally a size 2 using Ozempic. I'm like, bitch, where you fat? And why are you even being prescribed this medication? And that's the goes to show you how the pharmaceutical industry and how it's all a little scam in that whole situation of like even people who don't need these medications, y'all be prescribing them to them. Tell they ass to get to the damn gym or go get like some liposuction or something or another. Like, why are you using Ozempic if you're not fat? And I would look at something like using Ozempic or Manjaro as like it's a stepping stone to help you get some of that weight off. But I'm gonna also eat right, hit the gym, and all other stuff, so that way I can tone up and stuff. Because I don't think Ozempic don't bring tonation and muscles. You got to hit the gym for that. But if you need some help with like suppressing the situation, you could get all that weight off relatively quickly. You do have to do all the other work to maintain that. So, shout out to Mhi'ya for being the latest queen. There's a long list of girls from Drag Race that have come out as trans. And I've even said at this point, since RuPaul wants to overcompensate for after all that backlash he received from, a lot of the girls from Drag Race when it comes to the whole trans community and everything, where he was like, what was it? Like, oh, you get little things here and there put in your body. That's not the same when what was it? The Guardian interview where they dragged him over that? Like, if you really want to overcompensate, which I believe you did do post that comment, where I was overcompensating with the trans girls and not want to eliminate some of them who should have been eliminated, Lexi Love during her season, and she should not have made it to the top 4. No shade. I like her. I think she's talented. I think she was really entertaining for the show, but she should not have made it as far as she made it. But I do feel like it was, like I said, Drag Race overcompensating. I do feel like what they need to do is give us a all trans season of Drag Race. I would love to see that, like an All Stars. I would love to see an all trans All Star season. I think that would be good. There's enough of these girls out here that you could put on one season at this point. You'll see if them compete. So why not? And I would like to see Mhi'ya come back. I mean, she kind of was a little reserved and laid back and wasn't really pushing. She wasn't that memorable during her season of when it came to the challenges, but she definitely came alive when it came to performing on stage. The problem with, I think, after a while with Mhi'ya, when she would do those lip syncs, is that a little repetitive, which is why I think that Morphine did what she, they were just like, okay, at this point, Morphine, you ate. We're gonna let you progress because you wasn't pretty much giving us the same old, and that's kind of like what Mhi'ya was giving at one point. But I'm just glad that sis is out here living her truth, especially in a time where so many people especially with this current administration, is coming down hard on trans people. And girl, if you live in Florida, I definitely feel for you out there because they really, the people what's going on in Florida, a mess. I was gonna bring up her Instagram, but I'm like, at this point, we at the end of the segment of what I need to say in regards to that. If y'all definitely want to see, y'all could definitely go over to her Instagram. It's called Queen of Flips with 2 S's at the end, and you could definitely check out the post and all the other stuff. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? With Mhi'ya coming out as trans. Bosco's a trans girl. She was in the comments. Trinity K. Bonet, who's trans, came out and said something, a bunch of others. So I definitely want to hear from y'all. What do you guys think of this story? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below. hmm Yeah, it's definitely like when it comes down to when you look at certain people, it's like, yeah, I could definitely see that you could be part of the community. It's like we don't really pay attention, but then when you look back on it, they come out, it's like, yeah, the signs were there. Watch the video today. Where did all the non-binary people go? A very good video about recloseting and the rise of American conservatism and how it affects younger queer people who grew up in progressivism. And funnily enough, wasn't there recent stories that was coming out that there's more people who have come out of the closet than any other previous generation. Like when you're talking about Gen X and boomers and Gen Z and that sort of thing, like with Gen Alpha and everything, they're talking about there's more kids coming out. But I do feel like because the way that a lot of the youth have been indoctrinated by the conservatism and all that other stuff, especially with Charlie Kirk and all that other mess, that I hope that we're not going backwards, that we could find that there will be a generation that'll push back against all that foolishness. And people will come out and feel like, you know what? I want to be free to be who I want to be. And I don't like this whole idea of people going back in the closet. I think we're all in a way non-binary. We just decide to choose um a side to be on or whatever. You said kids come out young now. I hear that kid. Remember when I said I used to be one of the dolls, but I later realized it just wasn't really me. I hate to say it like this, but I really was trying to it like a pair of shoes. Thinking about that, I feel like some people would take offense to that, but I honestly don't. Because I feel like in life, people need to take the time, and you're still relatively young. You're like, what, 21? So you need to figure out who you are. And I think that we all tend to try on different hats and things, like as you put it, a pair of shoes. I do feel like when it comes to sexuality, when it comes to gender identity, when it comes to us figuring out, like even when I was growing up, I was trying different, I went through different phases. I ain't ever want to transition. I like my penis too much. So I never had that whole mindset of wanting to transition, but that's why I would say butch queen, because I do feel like I embrace the masculine and the feminine, which I think everybody should embrace both sides of who they are. It takes a man and a woman to make a baby. You do have those masculine and feminine traits. But I do feel like when you are trans or you're part of the LGBTQIA LMNOP spectrum, that you should be able to try and do different things. But I hate the fact that when you're saying like this, how people will weaponize it and they'll be like, well, see, then this is why we always say being gay is a choice. Blah, blah, blah. And like, no, that's not what we're saying. You're trying to weaponize that into something completely different. I do think that people need to take the time to really take years to figure out who they are, which is why I always say when it comes to people being trans, they make you do therapy and all that other stuff for years before you come to the point of doing the full-on transition, including if you want to go and get the surgeries and all that other stuff. The way that this administration is doing, they make it seem like people just wake up in the morning and they just giving out pussies everywhere. And it's like, no, this is not Oprah. You get a pussy and you get a pussy and you get a pussy. That's not how it works. So, it would be nice if there, as graphic as I just was saying it, that there would be people out here who kind of put that out there instead of the typical centrist Democrats who like to play up this whole identity politics bullshit. And then they want to go whenever things get a little, oh, I don't want to say the wrong thing, so let me retreat and not really defend everybody. But then they expect the LGBTQ community to come out and defend them. Like I didn't like the fact when the gays was coming for Hassan Piker because he's saying that people think that the trans community would have been better off under the Kamala Harris administration. I'm like, no, they wouldn't have. This is the same bitch that went in there and that actually voted to prevent trans health care in prisons. This lady that used to lock a lot of people, particularly black people, up. Y'all trying to say that that trans people would have been better? No, they wouldn't have. But they think it's because I wave a little pride flag and I show up on a float that I care about the gays. A lot of them don't. They say and do all the things because they want the vote. But I always say it's all about process and how, like, what they do in regards to policy is how I'm like, okay, you about that ish. But if you're not really giving, if you're just talking a bunch of hot air, but I don't see no action, then I'm side-eyeing you. I saw this one video. This muscle dude in Jackson Heights gonna fuck this damn anti-Zoran dude up. I was cackling over that. I retweeted it on or reposted retweet. I reposted on my threads. I wish I would have screen recorded it and I would have I'm gonna find that video, I'm gonna screen record it and I'm gonna just post it on the social media so people can see it. He said, you saw that story I sent you about the drag queen. I saw it, and I contemplated going back and forth. I'm like, should I talk about that on the show today? The story is there on my website, but I don't know if I wanted to post it because I didn't want to. I mean, call me a hypocrite, I don't care. But it's just like, I don't want to feed into this stereotype regarding, see, the gays are perverts and molesters and blah, blah, blah. Like, we already did enough of that with the Austin Wolf stuff. And then I gotta sit up here and talk about drag queens, separate. Well, one drag queen. Then there's another one I think called Miss Sharon that got accused of having sex with teenage boys. Whatever, was a bus driver, or something or another. Like there's two separate stories regarding men who dress up as women molesting children. I was like, I don't know if I want to do that heavy story up in here, especially with all the topics that I had. I want to keep it light and bright. That's why I stuck to the drag race stuff. Maybe I'll bring it up later on in the week, but I don't know. It was just, my mood wasn't for bringing that up. It only lasted for about a year and a half. My trans era was over by the time I met you. I still support the dolls, though. You mean I turned you back to being cisgender? No, I'm just playing. You said, but it's like, look, I'm glad you figured out that he was like, you know what? I thought about it. I thought maybe that was a trans, and I hope that's what it is. That it was you came to the terms that you felt like that wasn't you, and instead of giving into societal pressures, because I'm like, at the end of the day, people need to be who they are. But if it's like some people realize, like, you know what? I entertained the thought, and then I realized, no, I don't want to be trans, and that's fine. Everything isn't for everybody. Like, man, ass too much to be want to be in the women. I've come to that conclusion. Yeah, I'm not a gold star homosexual like some people. I have dabbled in the vagina before I was like, you know what? Boy butt is way better. As graphic as that may sound. But anyway, let's move on, Chair. Let's get into some more Drag Race news. And shout out to Kennedy Davenport, who revealed that her childhood home has gone up in flames, and she has set up a GoFundMe to raise some cointadas for this little situation. So a post on fundraising. Wait, hold on. Let me actually open that so that way I can see how much money it has raised before I get through this whole story, because I want to have all that ready. So okay, so now a post on the fundraising platform GoFundMe details that Kennedy, who is currently starring in the Las Vegas residency RuPaul's Drag Race Live, is the sole provider for her family, which includes her mother, grandmother, sister, and with special needs, another sister who suffered a stroke and can no longer work, and her beloved nieces. That is insane. That, you know what, Kennedy Davenport, and she is one of the most popular drag race girls out there. She's an icon. She's been doing drag for 100 years. No shade. I'm just saying she's been around for a long time. Like, she's an icon in the game. And the fact that people don't realize, so that when you're the sole proprietor or sole provider, that you're taking care of a village. That she's literally taking care of her mother, her grandmother, and two sisters, one who has special needs and one who suffered a stroke. And she said her beloved nieces. Now, I don't know how many they are and which sister had the kids, probably the one that had the stroke. So now you said the family lived in Kennedy's childhood home in Dallas, Texas, which has always been filled with love, resilience, and faith. But according to the fundraiser, tragedy struck in the form of a recent house fire. While Kennedy was away in Vegas, a fire partially destroyed the home where her family lives. The stress of being across the country while her family faced such devastation is unimaginable. Yet Kennedy has carried herself with the same grace and strength that have defined her career and her character. Now it's our turn to carry her. Kennedy has given us joy, artistry, and inspiration for years, and today she and her family need us. Every donation will go directly towards repairing and restoring the Davenport family home, covering essential living expenses, and easing the incredible burden Kennedy carries. And I was like, yeah, that's a lot. And especially like where if she has a special needs sister, there has to be somebody in that household that's helping taking care of her. I hope she has like a nurse or somebody who is on hand to help take care of a lot of what needs to be going on in the house. Because yeah, if I'm in Vegas and I'm doing a residency, and that's bringing a lot of revenue, plus there are rumors swirling that she is on the recently, well, it wrapped, and we won't probably see it. Well, not probably, we won't see it until 2026. All Stars 11. So Kennedy has shared the fundraiser, which was organized by friend Travis Stansel on Twitter, saying, "Thank you to all my loyal fans, friends, and family for taking the time to read. If you can't give, please reshare." I said, let me open it because I don't have it open. Speaking of which, let me reshare. Um, A fire has left Kennedy and her family in a tough spot. She always been there for us. Now it's time for us to step up. Please consider donating to help them rebuild. Every little bit counts. And then they have the GoFundMe situation. They said the GoFundMe currently sits at 36% of its $7,500 goal. Well, now I'm looking at the page. Hold on, because I'll actually open it for y'all. And it's raised so far $8,315. So before it was 36% of its $7,500 goal. So it's already surpassed the goal. Well, they said the goal was $12,000. Actually, so I take that back. 203 people donated, and it's raised 8,315. So I said I'm going to do my part. I'm going to come up in here and I'm going to help share this situation. I want y'all to be able to see the GoFundMe. And so, yeah, if you guys want to help donate, you could definitely do that. I can leave that there. The Kennedy Davenport, as you know, as we said, at first she was on RuPaul's Drag Race alongside names. She was on season 7, right? With Ginger Minj, Katya, and Trixie. And she's done All Stars 3, where she made it to the top 4. She did Canada versus the World, the 2nd season. And as I said before, rumors, I'm just being, I'm going to just say rumors, even though we know the tea, that she is on All Stars 11. And I like Kennedy. So Kennedy is somebody who tells it like it is. Kennedy's been in this business for a long time. Kennedy definitely is one of the girls who really shows up and shows out in regards to entertainment, always provides the funny lines, don't take no ish from nobody. And I definitely feel like because she's provided us with so much love, fame, performance, all the other good stuff, that in these dire times, we need to, help our brothers and, as I'll say, sisters in need. So shout out to you, Kennedy. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story regarding Kennedy Davenport? Have you heard about this situation? Are you, if you're interested in donating to the GoFundMe? I did post it up in the situation. Um, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the link in the description when I'm done with the live. So that way, if people want to actually get to the thing in the description of my YouTube channel, you can go and just click it open, all of the stuff, and send a little coin that way. If you don't want to have to do the whole Google schmoogle trying to figure out where you can go to look up the whole situation, I'll make it easy for y'all. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. Yeah, I totally forgot about that because there's been so many seasons of Drag Race. Speaking of which, I watched Dragula yesterday. I was so underwhelmed. You know what about Dragula? I like Dragula. I like the idea of Dragula, but what y'all need to stop doing is come up with these fake ass storylines where y'all be forcing them to kind of go back and forth with the beef with each other. It's like these beefs be feeling like they forced. Even the JK situation with Zavaleta, whatever. I'm just like, this shit feels so staged. It feels so fake. I just wasn't buying it. And didn't they even reveal who got exterminated last night, or was I bugging? Because I'm like, y'all had people jumping off. Y'all had people bungee jumping. I'm like, so who was murdered? Or do we find out next week? So I don't know. It was, child. I'm moving on. Um, Not to change the topic to another pageant queen who was also allegedly an All Stars 11. But Akira also had a pickled era when they were trans for a bit and later realized she's not one of the dolls. I was like, people go through all of that. They think that, can I be trans? Am I trans? I mean, I like wearing women's clothes. And I think some people do entertain the idea that there's a possibility that they could be trans. And then they, come around and realizing that, you know what? No, that's not my ministry. And that's fine. That's okay. Like everybody has what they do and they figured it out. But that don't mean that the other people who want to justify the BS of whatever, they want to say being trans is not a real thing. There's not people that, it's a disease or it's a phase, whatever the case is. For some, it might be. But we all change our minds in a lot of situations. So you can't lump everybody in one sum. There's some people that feel like, this is something I've felt my entire life and go through it. Then there's some that have that entertainer. They go through the situation and realize, you know what, let me it's not necessarily my ministry. And then there's some that I guess retransition. So everybody's journey is different. All right, so now let's get to our final topic and let's talk about this drag race movie that we've been alluding to for a while now. So Adam Shankman is directing an action comedy. I don't know if it's even got a name or whatever the case is, but yeah, so we know RuPaul, I believe, is going to be in it, but we have the cast of Queens, according to the story, of who's going to be in it. And shout out to Variety for this story. So fan favorites from the RuPaul's Drag Race franchise are coming out for Adam Shankman's upcoming action comedy feature film. Ginger Minj, Jujubee, Brooklyn Heights, Latrice Royale, Marsha 3 times, Monét Exchange, and Symone will appear alongside RuPaul in the as-yet untitled and sure-to-be divalicious film. It marks the first ever theatrical feature for the RuPaul's Drag Race franchise. In addition, producer Universal Pictures Content Group just entered the agreement to acquire all international rights to the picture. As previously announced, Bleecker Street will release the film, which is being billed as a wild ride of camp and comedy theatrically in North America in 2026. Now, according to the log line that we have regarding this situation, it says the film follows best friends Tess, played by Ginger Minj, and Dee Dee, played by Jujubee, trained stewardesses who traded their dreary shifts on the stank rail for the glitzy Glamazonian Express when a catastrophic stormganza threatens to derail the high-speed train and crash it into Los Angeles. The duo in coach must join forces with the snobby first-class attendants, played by Symone, Brooklyn Heights, Marsha 3 times, and Latrice Royale, and President Gagwell, played by RuPaul, to save the day. The film was produced by World of Wonder, Universal Pictures Content Group, and Bleecker Street, and written by Connor Wright and Christina Friel, Fenton Bailey, Randy Barbato, Tom Campbell, RuPaul's Charles, Adam Shankman serve as producers. Unapologetic Projects is an executive producer and financier on the project. Ginger Minj, as y'all know, is a singer, actor, and drag performer who gained recognition on RuPaul's Drag Race and recently won All Stars 10. Her screen credits include Netflix's Dumpling alongside Jennifer Aniston, Disney's Hocus Pocus 2 alongside Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy and Jimmy, and the feature The Legacy of Cloudy Falls. This fall, Ginger will direct, co-produce, and co-star in a new edition of her touring show, Hocus Pocus Live, which will also feature Drag Race alum Jujubee, Saphira Crystal, and Landon Sider, who won Dragula. Jujubee, as you know, was a drag performer, singer, intelligent personality, best known for her appearances on seasons of Drag Race All Stars, Drag U. She also was in TLC's Dragnificent, also was on Queen of the Universe, which I think she was the first eliminated. She will also voice Archie in the animated feature Sirenetta, Part-Time Mermaid, in addition to teaming with Ginger Minj in the national tour of Hocus Pocus Live. Also, let's not forget, Jujubee was in Drag the Musical, which was created by Alaska. I ain't bring that up, but I've seen her live. Brooklyn Heights is a Toronto-born drag performer, classically trained ballerina, and host of Canada's Drag Race. She became the first Canadian cast member when she appeared on season 11 of Drag Race and also serves as creator, EP, and host of One Queen, Five Queers. Remember One Girl, Five Gays? Is that what that is a version of? Because I used to watch that show. I used to like that show too. It was funny. But I forget what channel it was on. But I'm like, I didn't even know they had a thing called One Queen, Five Queers, which would make sense. You have a drag queen hosting, moderating a show with 5 homosexuals. Now, Latrice Royale captured the hearts of Miss Congeniality on season 4 of RuPaul's Drag Race. She also went on to star in All Stars, RuPaul's Drag Race Live, as also We're Here, AJ the Queen. On stage, she headlined international tours, starred in Death Drop on London's West End, and played Audrey #2 in Little Shop of Horrors. Her acclaimed solo shows, Here's to Life and Life Goes On, have sold out worldwide. Then we have Marsha 3 times, a drag performer who also was on Drag Race. She also played Marty Lauder on Broadway, and also appeared in Kinky Boots, Hello Dolly, and Cabaret. Monét Exchange, in addition to not showing, doing thirst traps where she's showing all that dingling in them little white briefs she was wearing recently. I seen them pictures. Is an award-winning Los Angeles-based stand-up comedian and multi-hyphenate. She has performed sold-out shows in comedy clubs and theaters across the U.S., U.K., and Canada, as well as Netflix. It's a Joke Festival at Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Her debut one-woman comedy show, Life Be Lifin', garnered raves. She's also co-host of the hit Webby and GLAAD award-winning podcast Sibling Rivalry with Bob the Drag Queen. And also she has Monét Talks, which is a YouTube chat show, which I've been checking out every now and again. And then, of course, we got Symone from the House of Avalon. No relation. Season 13 winner of RuPaul's Drag Race, is a celebrated model and performer. And, she starred in Bros, that travesty of a movie. ABC Station 19 and Star-Crossed the Film, the visual companion to Casey Musgraves' fifth studio album of the same name. And so on and so forth. So I'm definitely interested in seeing this movie. Although the long line sounds ridiculous and preposterous, it definitely gives what we would expect from a drag race type of movie. It's got to be parody. It's got to be camp. Like basically what we've seen from them drag race little parody movies that they be doing on the show. I just hope that if it's going into, well, not if, it is going into theaters, when it hits theaters, that it's not going to be so damn ridiculous and cheesy that it's like, okay, like who would want to pay $20 to see this shit in the theater? So it kind of makes me wonder, with Drag Race being so successful on TV, because we talk about this a lot, like when it comes to shows versus it being released theatrically. Like I have the same trepidations in regards of Mandalorian and Grogu. We could see Mandalorian on a streaming service. Will people pay money to go see a cinematically filmed regular TV show in movie form when they go to the theater to see that? Same thing with Drag Race. We can watch Drag Race on TV or at your local bar in a group setting, if you don't have cable or whatever, however you get to watch Drag Race. Would people actually pay money to see this film? But I guess we'd have to just wait and see how the movie turns out once the trailer drops, which will be, of course, sometime next year. Because who knows when they're going to start filming this? I would think they would, if they already, if they already got the cast down or whatever. Then I'm thinking it's only a matter of time before they start filming, and it would make sense to start filming now, especially with Drag Race about to start kicking up promo in the next 2 months. Because December is usually around the time we start to do the promos. Then they premiere the new season of season 18 in the beginning, like first week of January. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Now that you found out that they're doing like this action comedy RuPaul's Drag Race is taking shape, we have an idea of who the cast is going to be in regards to this movie. And we already know who's directing it. And that's the latest on this, but I'll continue to bring you news on this as it develops. If they're going to add additional cast members to this film. So I definitely want to hear from y'all. Let me know what your thoughts on this story in the comments down below. Which a lot of the girls in RuPaul Drag Race could work in spaces that didn't involve RuPaul or WoW. Trixie is really the only one who made it out of the WoW basement. And even she isn't as popular as she once was. Really? Because I heard that Trixie just surpassed another Drag Race. I didn't even read the article to know who it was. Probably Plastic Tiara. They go back and forth when they outdo each other. And that show is done because one of the people that worked on that show for a long time left. So, but I do agree with that. It's just like, we need to move on from some of the queens always being forever attached to RuPaul's Drag Race. But if that's the only way some of these girls can get the bills paid, then I guess you do what you got to do, right? I remember. And it didn't get renewed for, well, the person that she was in partnership with, didn't they break up? No shade, but it kind of does. But we'll just have to see about the execution. But we know a lot of the RuPaul's Drag Race stuff can be intentionally bad. Side wait. Do you think Discord Adams is going to get edited out of the season like that one queen from UK, or are they actually going to show a fight on the show? I honestly think they need to keep it in. It's the same thing I said regarding the Kenya Moore stuff. If you're gonna do a show where you're gonna have Kenya Moore get kicked off, you need to keep all of that in so we know what led up to this situation. If there was a fight that broke out with the queen, and you definitely want to show that, yeah, actions have consequences. We disqualify Willem because she broke the rules, whatever it was, how many different iterations of the story that has come out. But also, you have to show what happened. And I do think they need to keep it in. If all of these rumors regarding Discord Adams being disqualified for fighting turns out to be true, we need to know what led up to that. And then it needs to protrude from there. So I don't think they should cut all that out because I'm like, that would be ratings gold. No shade. I know that people feel like it's exploitation, but if you're giving us, the wherewithal, if you providing us with the mess, I'm showing it. We've seen it happen on The Housewives, whatever case. Some people call it in poor taste, but in that scene of Charlie Hunnam looking at the camera saying, you want to watch. He was talking to us. It's like, I'll sit up here and make the criticisms, but you watch and you shouldn't be looking at it and you should look away, but you don't. So I say keep it in. Yeah, but one of my friends, my inside sources say he didn't even know about Discord Adams. I'm like, yeah, that was the tea that we had heard about that. But hopefully they keep it up. I mean, they said like the one queen from UK, who are they gonna show a fight? Oh yeah, like I said, they should show the fight. Well, all the queens listed are all good. Well, that's why they picked them. So they'll be able to take a turd and turn it into a diamond. Child, don't even get me started on that movie. He said, I mean, remake Tu Wong Fu. Look, saying they need to remake Tu Wong Fu for Broadway. I would love to see a Broadway version of Tu Wong Fu. Y'all hire some drag queens to play. Look, y'all already cast it. Y'all can have who they need to have. Y'all need to have Safira Cristal play Noxzema. You can have Jinx Monsoon play Vita. And who should we get to play Chi Chi? Who's Latina and can sing? Oh, now that might be a little too messy. I was gonna say Yara Sofia. She go too off script. But yeah, who y'all think at the bottom should be Chi Chi? Georges would be perfect though, and you can intentionally make her not be the best singer. I mean, I heard it was some racist stuff with her. Mhm. And well, she from Florida. Need I say more? Latrice, not well. You said Latrice Noxzema, Chad Michaels, and Juju as Chi Chi. Oh, you saying Latrice Noxzema, Chad Michaels is Juju? Wait, what? Chad Michaels as Vita? I think you meant, and Juju as Chi. First of all, Juju is Asian, but I do like the idea of like, yeah, we can have Safira be But then again, I don't know if she can kind of give the sassy one-liners. She comes off a little too serious. Maybe you could have Bob the drag queen or Monét or one of them do Noxzema. Because yeah, Monét would actually be better. Monét sings, so I would like to see. I think she could do it, but I think Jinx Monsoon definitely because Jinx Monsoon is one of those girls that really brings she brings in the audience when it comes to Broadway. Like that when she played Mary in Oh Mary, she definitely boosted the ticket sales with that. I think she was also in Chicago, right? She boosted that. Like everything so Jinx has definitely been very successful in bringing people in when it comes to Broadway. So I could definitely see her being on top of that, and she definitely gives Vita Bohem vibes with her aesthetic. I was going through Discord's IG page, and she seems like a queen I would root for. She's a big fan of my favorite punk band. Do you see my nails? I remember that line that she grabbed Michael Vartan by the nuts. Michael Vartan, I used to have a big crush on him. But then because he was on Alias. It's like, and when we say good afternoon, ladies. I remember that line. Money could do Noxzema. Oh, you saying Monet. It was like, how about a sequel that's in the Tu Wong Fu universe, but not a remake? But I'm sure they could expand on it. Well, that would be perfect then. You said Monét as a linebacker in drag. How do you think that Wesley Snipes looked and all that stuff? Did he look like a linebacker in drag too? But then again, Monét has lost a lot of weight. Like I told you, I seen them pictures of her thirst trapping, showing that little dick print. Well, not little, child. That big old dick print. And you know, she about to marry her some white meat. So, you know, she tearing that ass up because a lot of these drag queens, y'all be shocked to know a lot of them are tops. So, but then again, she might be versed. I don't know. I ain't never slept with her, so I don't know. But congratulations on her whole wedding and all that other stuff, upcoming nuptials and things of that nature. All right, y'all. So now it looks like we are at the end of today's show. I want to thank you all for tuning in to the latest episode of Chris Avalon Unfiltered. If you have not already, please hit that like button. Also, smash the notification bell and all that good stuff so you know when we go live with a brand new episode of Chris Avalon Unfiltered. I'll be back tomorrow with some old mess and shenanigans. So, yeah, thank you all for hanging out with me for these almost 3 hours and all that good stuff. Love you all for watching. Thank you for your continued support. And until next time, y'all know the deal. Ciao, dog.